now that I'm outside? It's okay if it's recording on this?
No, why you
And
need to
transmitting?
record? No, don't record it. So why you switch it off?
So it's on because it's catching here, but
No.
I disconnected this one for right
No,
now.
this one you don't need it right now. Don't even worry about it. It's only for inside, okay?
Okay.
Hello, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Charan, can you hear us? Okay, 1, 2, 3. We are live at NSF 2023 San Jose National Finals. It's okay. మోనో ఉంది అదిగా స్టీరియో పెట్టు దీంట్లో స్టీరియో పెట్టు ఈ మోనో ఉంది కదా
నేను మీకు మెసేజ్ పెడతాను.
Okay. Hey, this is Sudhakar live from NSF National Finals. Okay, we are in San Jose, California. Can you hear me? Both the channels?
I can only hear you off this one. They can.
You can see both the channels, no? Where is that? Hello.
So it's only channel 2.
It's only right channel. Where is the right channel? Stereo.
Check 1 2 1 2 check.
It's only one channel. Hey, can you hear me? 1, 2, say something. Why is it?
Good morning. Good morning. We are here in North South Foundation, San Jose, California.
So channels say
North South Foundation.
audio settings. Where are the audio settings? Where are the audio settings, my friend?
Audio recording.
Yep. Go back. Okay. Audio recording on.
Check 1 2 1 2 check. That's channel 1.
It's only one channel, so we have.
Mic test. Check 1. Check mic test. Check 1. Mic test. Check 1. Mic.
So this one. So it goes like this, okay?
Yes. Check 1 2. 1 2 mic check. Mic test. 1 2 mic test.
Channel, okay.
1 2 mic test.
It's a stereo. How come it's
Mic test. Check 1. Mic test. Check 1. Mic test. I'm hearing it from both now.
which one?
I'm hearing from both
Say
headphones.
something.
Mic check. Yeah, it's coming from both channels. Channel 1 and channel 2 is registering.
Okay. So just show some little bit recording. People are coming. So you need see this one. So
Yes.
probably you need to go all the way there. And
Yes.
yeah, just take this. So you need to go there, okay? You need to walk a lot. So jacket, you will get hot, I think, but just keep it in mind. So see, people are looking at it. Just take a shot, okay? They're checking. So I need that shot, okay? Jimmy, just give a light. Okay, come here, close, buddy. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Zoom in. First, you can. Okay, so you can shoot the logo on top. Okay.
Yes.
But you're all set.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you need a monitor, my friend. So you don't know what exposure you are in. Okay. But take a little bit tighter shot. Tight shot all the time. So there's too much cables going on here for you.
You're fine.
You find it later. No problem. What a nice morning. You guys have traveled, right? Oh, gosh, how was it so far? How is our area treating you? Of I saw your cats. Are they? It's lovely that you're interested. Oh, thank you, Anna. So nice to see all familiar faces. We're all temple volunteers. L140.
Kaja, Kaja.
MB1 is over here.
This is building.
Room adukunna.
Which one?
MB1.
MB1 is here. Yeah, MB1.
MB1 అంటే okay.
MB2 is downstairs lecture hall, right? On
Yeah,
the
yeah.
left.
Yeah, MB2, I think what it is.
You go there, you have to get down the stairs. Okay. Yeah, how are you? Good. You're going to have breakfast. There, anyway. No worries. ¿Es una galleta?
Allá va a empezar, ya le voy, ya, bueno, mucho poquito empezó, me dijo a las 8:40.
Son las 8:40.
Solo hay niños sentados escribiendo.
¿Dónde está Colón? No vas a salir.
MB1 up here, Matt, phase 1 and 2. Is that one? Oh,
Oh, yeah, right there.
okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, just take outside. Open the door, take a picture. That's it. Any personal stuff or anything. Don't curse me, so people will understand if you are cursing me.
I think building 1. Which one?
2 is building 2. So this is 3 there. So as soon as you go in front, on the left side, you see before you, once you go building 2, then you will, it's there. Once you go inside, they have that. Like the way we have written here, MB1, right? That's also math. MB1 is only for the elementary students. This guy he looks like tall. He's everything. Thanks. Restrooms are there in every building. If you want to go to that room, so that is the building. Okay. If you want to go to restroom, any building has got restrooms. Okay. Yeah. They went to the MB1. Yeah. This is MB1. This is just a classroom. Okay. But this whole thing is a building. Oh, okay. Got it. So you can go enter there. There is a restroom there. Everywhere it's there. If you want to sit, you can sit in that. You are a parent, right? So you can sit in the tent, or there is a cafeteria on the right side. Oh, okay. There is a cafeteria on the right side, so you can definitely do that. Thank you.
So this one you connect to your. It has an in, right?
Yeah.
It has an in. So get a cable like this, connect to your microphone, your recorder. What is that? Mic out. Mic, not mic out. Headphones out. Okay. That's it. Go get the cable. Keep it here.
So the whole building is building 1, but I mean this is the MB1. MB1, yeah. Okay. Everything is okay, right? All set, right? The badge market. My work?
Do you have more cables? Okay, but we never know, so you need to keep it ready. You have to think fast and you have to act fast. Okay, remember that. Okay, show it to the people. So I have set the APS mode.
Ah, okay.
See,
Yes.
so when you are in APS mode, you see an icon here. This is somewhere.
Yeah.
Where is that?
It's like a square.
Yeah, square. Yeah.
Yeah, next to each other.
I wanted it to. Don't do that, man. So you have to do it slow. You have to adjust it. Let me adjust the balance. So this one, see, it's too much. So you need to adjust. See, so you don't fall down.
Yes.
Got it? So slowly. Yeah. Keep the exposure too.
Yes.
we touched base on the North-South Foundation. The graduates of our first iteration of this program formed a Gavel Club. So they created their own club and they are doing it, which she monitors from 2016. And she was a keynote speaker in yesterday's event that marked 10 years that she sponsored the club that open up in her workplace. So, Savita Sektor. And next one is a gentleman, Anirudh Narayanan. He is also from Tampa, Florida. He has been with the District 48 Youth Leadership Program ambassador since he was not eligible to become a member there. And he has given speeches in the conferences, Toastmasters district conferences. And then he has conducted his own youth leadership program with Hillsborough County. The county sponsored that program. Speech and debate, and so on. He is currently a final year student at UC Berkeley. He has done some internships, and I miss that. Thank you. So, without further ado, again, welcome you all to this. So, hope you will walk out with more to jump into this public speaking arena. So when it comes to the public speaking, correct, so first thing comes to your mind, right, that's the fear. So what do you think that other things, that public speaking, what makes people to hesitate to get into the public speaking? First I will go with Savita.
Thank you, Sampath. It is said that the number one fear in the world is public speaking, not anything else. We all know that, right? So I think whether you feel it or not, people have got that in rhetoric that, oh no, I can't speak in front of people. So my number one suggestion to everyone is just try it out. You will be surprised at what you find out. And one more thing that I would like to say, thank you for all the introduction you gave me. But in spite of that, yesterday I was a keynote speaker. We get jitters. So getting jitters is okay. That's the first thing everyone needs to know. However, I'm sure Obama or whoever stands there at the national level, international, will also have jitters. So it's okay to have jitters. That's the first thing I would like to tell everyone who says, I can't speak in public. And the funny thing is, they say, I can speak to you one-on-one, but when it comes to a big audience, I cannot speak. So what I would like to tell, including myself, I would like to tell everyone that don't worry about the audience. Don't worry about how you look, but worry about what people will take away from what you said. Once you put that in your head, it becomes easier. I'm not saying it's going away. It is a very natural thing to have jitters when you're speaking in front of people. But don't think too much about yourself. Think about what you are giving to the others that they will take away. Because when they leave the room, they're not going to say, how did Savita look? Was she nervous? They'll say, what is my takeaway for the time I spent sitting there listening to that person? I think that really helps people to forget about whether it's one person or 100 people listening to you. This is my message and I'm going to get it out. That would be my tip.
Thank you, Savita. So the fear and then how to get out. Anirudh, the question is, given this fear and giving all these tips to the audience, why we have to do it? What is the importance of the public speaking? What you're going to achieve, right? So the fear is there, you are going to get through the fear, but why? Why we have to take that risk? Or why it is important? How is it going to get?
Yeah, I actually want to touch on the fear point.
Sure.
For 1 moment. The way that I rationalize the fear aspect is that there's something different when you communicate to someone in a one-on-one setting versus a group setting. And the way that I reason about that is that there's some form of you that needs the validation that comes in a group. Right? If everyone's looking at you and everyone's expecting you to say the right things, then there's some underlying expectation that what you're saying provides value, what you're saying is correct, and what you're saying matters. But those are also the same reasons why you should be saying those things. That's the way I look at it. So when it comes to why is public speaking important, there's a lot of reasons, right? And I can give you examples across my life. When I was younger, it was the teacher would call on you, you'd have to go to the front of the class, and if you spoke well, you got a good grade, right? If you didn't get a good grade, it meant that if you were like, I don't know, 87% of the class, and this is something that's happened to me a lot, because I was trying in my classes, I could go and ask, hey, can I get 2.5 extra percent, so my 89.5 rounds up to a 90 and I'm good in the class. Right? Those are small examples that happen when you're younger. And then you start getting older, and you start having to compete. I remember for Model United Nations, one time we had a conference in New York City, and you're in a room of 400 people, and your goal is to try to pass some sort of resolution. And my committee wasn't the most exciting. I think it was DISEC, which stands for Disarmament and International Security Something Council. Basically, it was about militarization of space, right? Something that's not super exciting. Your goal is to try to pass a resolution. You mock one of the countries. You have all these other countries in the room. And it's like 400 people, right? Everybody's losing their minds all the time. Everyone has their own ideas on how to solve the problem. And I remember after we gave our speech, like at my team, things changed because of the way that we spoke. There was a certain commanding of the room that we had that led people to draw toward us. Remember what I said earlier about the fact that you need to say things that matter, you need to get that approval almost, right? That validation that what you're saying is important. And we had that, and so we were able to leverage that and win. And then later on in life, it became winning at debate competitions, and then eventually, somewhere along the line, it became going to interviews, right? We started with college interviews my senior year of high school. You're talking to these alumni, you're talking to these professors, and you're trying to convince them that you're the one for the job. Where a lot of my friends used to freak out about interviews. A lot of them still freak out about interviews for jobs and internships and all that. And they always ask me, how do you not stutter? How do you go with it? My favorite is when you get asked questions that you don't know. I remember one time I was interviewing for Tesla for their software release team, and I got asked a question about some specifics of software release cycles. So I didn't know anything about software release cycles going in. I didn't know that that was a specific team, and I thought it was just a general program manager role. I didn't realize that they were going to ask me the specifics of like waterfall versus agile versus there's all sorts of like Scrum methodology and terms that they love using. And they threw a bunch of terms at me, and then she stared at me and expected me to answer. It's one of those things where if you feel like you need to give an exact, right, precise answer, right? You aren't used to being in those uncomfortable situations. You start to stutter, you start to fall apart. But sometimes it's perfectly okay to ask for clarification, to think with a level head, right? To go forward in a way that makes sense, right? And I presume, right, that's now, right, where I'm interviewing. And even in the future, I presume that there'll be times where you get to give presentations at work, right? Or even if not presentations, maybe you're doing something at a North-South contest and you're volunteering, right? There's all these different applications, but it all comes back to that one core thing, which is you're delivering some message that has some value for some people, and you need to make sure you adhere to that.
Thank you, Andrew. That was a good personalized what you went through, how you got in where you are using that. That's a great, relating to the real events there. Thank you again. Now, we talked about the importance, how hard it is. Now, ways to start. Before becoming a formal, jumping into the Toastmaster setup or North-South contest and so on, what other opportunities that we all have where we can start the public speaking? Sarita.
Thank you for that question. First of all, in any setting you are in your daily life, if you have a thought and you think you want to contribute, speak up. It need not be in Toastmasters, even before you jump into Toastmasters, wherever in the family or in your workplace, you have a thought. Do not think that my thought is not important. You're not going to die, you just speak up. And that way you will practice to articulate and express yourself. I think the number one important thing today is the ability to express yourself. Who knows, it may lead to some results. Now, in a formal way, I would say everyone, youth and adults alike, Toastmasters is a practicing ground. One, it is sustainable. There is a weekly cadence for it. Pretty much, some people meet, once in a month or once in 2 weeks, but the ideal is every week, try to go to this place where you will speak and you will immediately get feedback. Now that's my cornerstone of Toastmasters, because you get feedback and you never know what you're good at. So what we do is we do a sandwiched evaluation, we call it. We talk about the good things that someone heard from your speech. You might not even know that you have that potential, and then they'll give you some tips for improvement. So what I would say to start is get enrolled in Toastmasters. That's one of the safest ways to start. And then at work, I would just extend it to work. You're in a meeting, everybody is talking, and you think of an idea. I would say just express it, because for all you know, in 1 year, somebody else implements that idea and gets all the accolades and say, hey, I thought about it, but what's the use? You didn't express. And then somebody took the laurel, right? So just when a thought comes, do not worry about expressing it. Start to speak up. That would be my first tip.
Thank you, Sarita.
No, on that note of speaking up, I would like to speak up. So understanding the importance and especially with your son who's had like a good track record of going over this whole process multiple years, then why is not having a junior public speaking contest for grades lower?
Yeah, we
than
will come to
60?
that point, yeah.
Because there are kids
Related to
who
not
can-
so, I can answer them.
Okay.
Yeah. At the end, we are keeping, there is a flow, we are going to talk about now south offerings, contests, like that. So that time I will address that one. So we talked about the fear, we talked about what are the opportunities we have, right? And then how to start. So we started now. How to improve this, what are the other things that we have to watch out so that we can be a better public speaker? Anyway.
There's a lot of things to watch out for becoming a better public speaker.
You talk about a couple of items, and Savita is going to talk
Okay,
about a couple of items, and then come back, and then if anything missed, we will cover it.
All right, so that's my way of limiting my time. Okay, got it.
We needed the red, green, yellow cards here.
There's a few things that I would classify as being the most important to me on an individual level. I think the first one has to come down to the voice and vocabulary that you choose to use. There's a certain audience that you have in mind that you're addressing, and you need to go into the right level of complexity when you're addressing that sort of topic. This also comes down to the kinds of analogies, the kinds of examples that you use. So I look here and I see my audience, so I make sure to draw some examples of when I'm older, right? Whereas if I'm talking to a crowd of only students, and if I talk about interviewing for a job, they're going to completely zone out and not care, right? Whereas I might emphasize the first part, but it's still important for me because most of the people here are parents, right? So you still have children, you're still interested in what your children would possibly be into. So that's why I make sure to also include examples of when I was younger as well, right? So there's a nice balance here of how I'm adapting to my audience. There's also hand gestures that are pretty important. We're not standing up, but you can also be walking around and use the entire stage. Your body language conveys a lot of information beyond your voice. The last one that I'll pick up is eye contact. So you'll notice that I've been trying my best to look around. I know I'm not looking at you as often because there's only one person on this side.
Looking at the camera.
Or, yeah, I keep forgetting there's a camera. So you keep looking around, right? You want to make it feel like people are being talked to, right? Not spoken at. And there's a very important difference between the two.
Thank you, Anirudh. So you can expand on those, or there is more to improve. Please share your experience and what message you want to give.
Yeah, I completely agree about the eye contact. That is why, when we switched to Zoom, when the pandemic hit, we could see the difference between speaking like this in front of people, live audience, versus being on a screen where eye contact can be at best, experienced depending on the technology you have. If the camera is placed correctly, that was never part of our Toastmasters evaluation, and then when we went on Zoom, it took over. So I agree on the eye contact part of it. Because I look at you, I speak to you, I see nodding heads. That's an immediate validation that you're getting what I'm telling you. So no doubt about the eye contact. The presence, I think when the speaker is confident, one thing I would like to say is that when somebody goes up on stage, the audience wants you to succeed. They don't want you to fail. It's very embarrassing when the person on stage doesn't know the next words. It's not comfortable for the audience either. Everybody wants you to succeed. That's one thing you need to know when you're here up on stage. We are all in it together. So forget about, oh my God, I'm going to make a fool of myself. So having that confidence within you is very, very important. The body language and the gestures will flow, because if you're passionate about what you're trying to say, it'll all become we're all creatures of habit. That's why I say practice, practice, practice. This is a process. It's not like I went to a class and learned public speaking. You've got to keep doing it, got to keep getting feedback and then implement the feedback. Go back and do it again. And the Toastmasters program has everything set up for that. So I would leave it at that.
Thank you, Savita. So if you notice, right, eye contact, each one of you felt that they are talking in person to you, right? So whether it is a 10 people, 15 people, 100 people, doesn't matter. So they make a personal connection with you all, saying that, yep, this message is for you specifically, even though there are hundreds of people. That's the importance of eye contact. And also, if you notice both of them, the body gesture, right, it coincides, it syncs with the message that they are giving. So they are not talking something and then hand gestures and movements are totally like different. Then there is a disconnection. So the body gesture, the voice, the eye contact, the message, the confidence, everything goes together as a single package. So I prepared a speech, and there are many points. How do I avoid any fillers, or what is the impact of, let me put that, I want them to talk about it. Anirudh, again, 2 points.
Okay, so just so I understand, there's 2
I'm
points.
stuck between the point or how to.
Oh, you're literally stuck. Okay.
Yeah. So how can I improve that transition to the point? And I'm not using so can you touch on it?
I'll give a multifaceted answer here, because this question is one that is pretty tricky for a lot of people. I'll start with, you have some speech, right? You're assigned to write some speech. Let's say you have an infinite amount of time, so it's not an impromptu style speech, it's a prepared speech. You probably open up your computer, you start doing some research, you start typing. Usually what will happen is people will write, I don't know, 600 words, 1,000 words. You start cutting it down to whatever time limit you have to meet. And then you get into this process where you start memorizing, right? You say every single word, you time yourself, you're going through, you try to say it with your eyes closed, you try to say it backwards, you do all these random things. So eventually, you'll start writing on note cards, and then you'll use the note cards, you'll look down, you'll look up, you'll look down, you'll look up, and you try to get used to memorizing it. And then eventually, you try to put the note cards aside, and then you go for it. Anyone ever tried doing this before? Have your children ever tried doing this? I think everyone's hand should be raised, because this is literally what everyone does. I'm here to tell you don't do that. And I mean that very genuinely, right? There's a couple problems with this. The first one is what you're doing is you're taking a word and you're associating it with the word right before it. That is effectively what is happening. All you're doing is you're just going in a sequence of words, one after the other after the other. And if one of these words falls, every single word after that falls apart, right? Maybe you remember the general idea of what you have, but now you're so used to memorizing that you can't even freestyle and go off the word that you have prepared, right? You need to remember that word, and so you stand up there, you freeze, and you don't go anywhere. Now, what is the solution to all of this? Don't try to memorize the exact words. Think about the general outline as a set of ideas, right? So even in these responses that I'm giving you, we had the questions beforehand. I could have sat down, written everything, and tried to memorize it that way. Instead, what I've been doing is when I get asked a question, I think of a couple larger ideas that I have, and then you get used to expanding on those ideas in real time, live. And it's a tricky skill. It's one that impromptu speaking helps you a lot with, right? When you have to go up and you have to talk about a subject. We'll talk more about this later. I'm not going to go into too much detail now. But that's how I sort of deal with the preparation part of it. The second part of this question has to do with what happens when you say filler words, ahs, ums, or even crutch words like so, like, and, but. These words interrupt the flow of what you're saying because you don't intend to say them. You'll notice that I take pauses every once in a while. You could, if you wanted to, replace those pauses with filler words, and it would be kind of different. It's hard for me to do it because I'm so used to not doing it, so you have to imagine it. But you can take these longer filler words. What you're doing is your body is trying to say something, but your mind's not quite ready. And so you just make some sort of noise, some sort of word, something to get you going until you can get to the next word, right? It's a very similar idea to what I was talking about earlier. What you do is, and it's going to feel very awkward at the very beginning, you just pause, you just stop yourself from talking. It's a very forceful thing, and it's something that can be helped if people start pointing out the number of ahs and ums in Toastmasters they have an ah counter. That literally their job is they go up and they say, you said 14 ahs, 15 ums in front of everybody. And you go, wow, I did not mean to do that. You start getting conscious of the fact that you're saying all these fillers, and when you forcefully pause, the first couple speeches that you give, I'm gonna be totally honest, they're gonna feel really weird, and they're probably not gonna be great. You're gonna be pausing for very long periods of time. But as you go over and over and over and over, you start practicing more and more, eventually the pauses become very small, and they start to become impactful. They start to hone in on the idea that you're saying.
Thank you, Anirudh. So, not memorizing the speech, right? So, what is the best way to organize and then deliver the speech? Sorry.
Thank you for that question. They say that for every speech you give, there are 3 versions of it. The speech that you prepared, the speech that you gave, and the speech that you wished you gave. So one thing to remember is, do not get flustered if you did not say what you wanted to say, because nobody knew what you wanted to say. Even yesterday, I had prepared, because I was expecting a huge audience. It was an open house, and there were 145 people from work, and then you're very conscious. They're your colleagues, they're your seniors. And so I had dotted all my I's and crossed all my T's, and I had my script ready. Then we had technical glitches. And so, the mind was very flustered because we could start on time, and Toastmasters is all about starting on time. Things happen, Murphy's Law. So I was a little flustered, and it came out in my speech. And I'm saying, oh my God, I wanted to say this. I wanted to say, it takes a village to raise a child, because that would have been a nice segue into my next, what I was trying to say. And then I go home and say, oh, I didn't say that sentence. That was the most impactful sentence. And then the other part of me said, nobody knew you were going to say that. So relax, it's okay. The open house turned out to be good. There were 15 people that said, I want to join. So that was the point. So do not worry about you didn't do what your script said. As he said, go with the flow, get the general idea. It's just like studying, right? If you mug up and you get a question twisted, then you cannot write the answer, right? Get the ideas in mind and do not learn anything by rote. And about crutch words, I'll just tell the adults. I see most adults here, so I'll say, why do we count? If you go to a Toastmasters meeting, your first impression, oh my God, is it kindergarten? They're counting how many likes and so's and ahs and ums. But I'll tell you, I'm in technology, and we have people in India, we outsource, right? And they have ideas. They get the best software out. However, you put them in front of the business and ask them to explain the concept, they have so many filler words that they cannot articulate. And you say, oh my God, I wish they didn't have so many filler words. It's very distracting when filler words are there and the speech is not clear. So there is some value to pay attention to your ahs and ums and make sure that you use pauses. That's a great suggestion.
Thank you, Savita. So we touched upon how to improve the public speaking, right? Eye contact, voice and vocabulary, body gestures. See, in addition to that, every public speaking, we all feel nervous, right? So a couple of tricks that I learned is just holding like this and take a deep breath, couple of seconds. That calms you down, brings down your nervousness, and then you can deliver and you can recall all the things. Now when you prepare the speech, you make like a 3 main points, and then you have 3 sub points underneath. And then all you have to remember is that 3 points. And then you can keep expanding. The transition is also very important. You cannot jump from one place to all the way up there and then you say, oh wait, I forgot here and I come back here. You can jump, but make it like a transition, make it like a smooth that the audience don't notice. It's okay to forget, But how you are going to incorporate and bring back. Audience doesn't know what you are going to say. Did you give your speech to them? No. Whatever you say, that's what they are going to think that you prepared. But prepared speech is different, where they have to remember all those words. The public speaking world champions, they repeat that speech wherever they go. They remember each and every word, they deliver it in the same way. But they are used to that, so they will do it. Since we are just beginners, there is no much to do for us. And talking about the speeches, what are the various different types of speeches that we have? Anyway.
Yeah, so we have the extemporaneous speeches, these are also called impromptu speeches. You are not told what the topic is going to be beforehand, you usually don't have time to prepare. If you do them in like a contest setting, you'll often get 30 seconds to a minute to come up with some initial ideas. But these are all around us, right? If you're in stand-up at work and you're called upon, that's impromptu, right? That's assuming, of course, you didn't prep what you're going to do for stand-up beforehand. Stand-up, for those that don't know, is like the meeting that sometimes you have, usually early in the morning, usually every day, where you talk about the progress you've made since the previous stand-up. Yeah, there's a lot of examples of impromptu speaking. There's also prepared speaking, and this is another very common kind. This one usually have longer to prepare. I would say the lower bound for this is anywhere between like 15 and 30 minutes, up to sometimes theoretically months that you have if you know about it in advance. This is the one where you come up with some drafts of what you're going to say, you keep saying things over and over and over, and then eventually, after you practice enough times, it becomes like a second nature to you. Now, there was a point brought up earlier about memorizing like all the words that the world champions do, and some of you might be like, wait, he just said don't memorize all the words, what is going on? There seems to be a rift between the two. I want to take a quick moment to clarify that in case anyone is wondering. The idea here is that when you first start out, you're going to think of these like larger general ideas, but as you start saying the speech over and over and over, you'll notice that some word phrasings are going to be less clunky. And eventually it becomes a function of the fact that you've done it so many times that you're going to give it the same way after a certain number of times, because you notice that people respond to certain gestures, certain ideas, and you phrase them correctly. So that's sort of the trade-off here, right? Is that even then you're not still like writing out everything and memorizing it word by word, but you've just done it so many times that you start to memorize and have things said.
Thank you, Anirudh. So impromptu and prepared speeches. Now, in the professional setup, we do the presentation kind of speeches or like a persuasion. So can you please highlight on how to get ready or how to give effective on the presentation and then the persuasive type of speech?
One thing to remember is the attention span of people are very less. People have left the room. I hope that they had better things to do or they did not get bored with what we said. Because reading your audience is very, very important. And if you're not crisp, you lost the audience. So you have to make sure that, especially, again, if you're speaking to your team, it's okay if you blabber on a little bit. But knowing your audience ahead of time, to whom are you speaking with? Just like when you write an email, right? If you're just corresponding with a teammate, you can leave out the details, or you can just say, oh, that person already knows what I'm talking about, and so you just write something cryptic and he got the clue and he or she got the clue. However, if the same message is to be delivered to a senior manager, you have to see that their attention span is only 10 seconds, so you've got to put everything in that first and second line. Same with speeches. You've got to be as crisp as possible in delivering whatever you have to deliver, and depending on the time. So good speakers always ask, how much time do I have? Because they can fill it. They have done speaking all their life, and stopping is a problem. We Toastmasters, we say that we time our speeches, but you see any Toastmaster, it's hard to stop them to talk. So when I joined Toastmasters, I didn't learn how to talk. I learned how to stop talking. That's very, very important. Because you go to so many of these events, people keep on talking. And at a point, you lose the audience. So you've got to be crisp. That's one thing I would like to say about public speaking.
Thank you, Savita. So we talked about impromptu speaking and then the knowing the audience, right? Now, we didn't have any rehearsal before this. All they knew was a couple of bullet points. This is what we are going to talk, and that's it. They are off. Now, knowing the audience, I told them that it's going to be mainly the students, and especially the high school students who are going to be attending the contest. There are 17 contestants, right? So we scheduled this at 8 o'clock, just before the contest, so that when we go through, they will implement all these things. And that's okay. The audience changed, right? But did that impact our delivery? No, it didn't. So the message will go across, but we are prepared. We are prepared. This is what you are going to get out of public speaking. This is what you get out of the practice over and over and over, how you get through it. Now, the last two things that we are going to talk about is what North-South can offer, right? So, Anil, you want to talk about North-South specifically?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that North-South can offer. First one, of course, the contests that we have. So at the regional levels, we have PS1, PS3. At the national finals, we have PS3. Great opportunities to get involved, right, to practice it. So I'm actually the subject coordinator for public speaking. We spend a good amount of time thinking about what topics to give, because we want to give topics that are not so surface level, so high level, that doesn't make sense to give them. Like, I don't want to ask you what your favorite vacation is, what your favorite street is, these kinds of questions that are very juvenile is the word that I would use to describe them, right? We want to give you questions that will somewhat challenge, but at the same time, I don't want to give a very complicated question that requires a lot of background knowledge, right? I don't want to explain quantum superposition at the same time, right? So it's finding that right balance of where's a question complex enough that you can really embrace it. I think another key element that North-South has is the coaching. So we started public speaking coaching quite recently. Some of you may know that we've had math coaching, science coaching, all these things for so long, and we realized that we can also do a very similar thing with public speaking. So I was actually part of the first group that pioneered that, so I can tell you firsthand that we did put a lot of effort into making sure that the content that we have over the 6 weeks goes into a lot of detail about a lot of the things that we talked about. You also get the chance to do a lot of the speeches and give evaluations yourself, to give you chances to implement all these things firsthand.
Thank you. So,
and then I also forgot, I just remembered. You can also help out a lot of North-South. I forgot, this is why he asked me the questions, because this is what I did. So when I was younger, I used to go and help out at all different contests that we had. And so these are not things that we can do formally, right? It's not like a formal program, but I would just ask to do things like, I just want to be the spelling bee pronouncer, right? And you might be like, why do you want to be the spelling bee pronouncer? You aren't good at spelling. You're right, I don't know how to spell those words, but I wanted to get practice saying those words in a way that was very clear and understandable by people. Right? When I was younger, I used to sort of not enunciate my words enough, and I knew that was something that I wanted to work on, so I volunteered to do that. Or things like being the MC of the awards contest, right? Can I say something, or can I introduce people for the awards? And I think when I was in high school for the PS1 contest, I asked to introduce all the speakers and bring them up and talk to the crowd about what it was like to do the public speaking. There's a lot of different ways that you can just get involved, and really it comes down to how much are you willing to ask for, and when they say no, what are you going to do to get around that, right? And I don't mean get around it in a way go behind their backs and just get up on stage and start talking. I mean, what are the ways that you will adjust, and what are the other creative ideas that you have to try and volunteer in the practice?
So that connects back to what are the opportunities that you get to improve your public speaking or kickstart the public speaking, right? So your regional local chapters contact your chapter director, or can you read the rules for certain contests, or in the award ceremony, can you announce, can you be a MC? So those are the different things that North-South offers from the practical point of view, but from the learning point of view, the coaching, and then from the exhibiting what they learned is the contest. Now contest we have only for middle school and high schoolers. The reason is, if you look at, when it comes to public speaking, adults ourselves have that nervous mode. Now when it comes to the high school, there are speech and debate and all those things done by the schools. So they have some exposure and they have some interest and they want to show their expertise there. We have a larger population there. Now compared to the middle school, the population that shows interest in public speaking is little lower based on their FBLA and other activities they are involved. Now if we come to the elementary school, the kindergarten to 5th grade, it's remote, it depends upon the parents. So if the parents are public speakers, then they pull. I pull that guy from the 4th grade and he will sit in the back of the seat when we do the youth leadership program, acting like sleeping, thinking that I will drop him off. No, I didn't drop him off. I said, you can sleep inside the room. because I was coordinating, right? So I have a privilege, so I will bring him, and he will act out in all the possible ways.
We don't need to.
But the thing is, no, but the thing is, this is what turned it, right? So, 4th and 5th grade, little bit, but from 6th grade onwards, he attended all the youth leadership programs that I coordinated. See, that change happened.
Oh, you were pretending to sleep and not wanting to.
Yeah. So then, 9th onwards, he did his own youth leadership program. So initially, my point is, the interest on the elementary school kids is
I had a
very low.
follow-up question. So, in case the elementary school kid is well poised and
Yeah.
doesn't to compete even with the middle school right now, would you make an exception and take them?
Yeah, so that we have to check with the regionals whether they are interested to host the contest. So if they are ready, of course we will tell them, we will recommend that we will have a contest for elementary school kids also if there is enough interest. So we will.
We don't know about enough interest because like prodigies are rare. So my son is like 2 grades accelerated.
Yeah.
He's only 7 years old.
Yeah.
He was the 3rd position in US.
We have to cater them.
So there are kids who can do it and do much more. So, but now if you make it that if I get 10 kids, you won't get 10 kids.
Yeah.
But you'll get 1 kid who might come first.
Yeah.
So
So
the
we
thing
will
is-
have a solution.
Yeah, we will bring it up to the north-south and see whether they want to do it, which chapters. Because chapters, right, they are putting up the volunteers and other
Yeah.
things. And they say, oh, if we don't have minimum, they want to cancel. But we are enforcing them, no, do it even if it is
That's
3 kids,
exactly.
5 kids.
And I'm happy to like fly to any place in the US. I don't mind.
They may not do the finals, but let me check with the north-south, I will present that.
Thank you.
Now, we have another venue for that, so.
Awesome.
So we talked about north-south offerings, how they can do. Now, when it comes to the adults, even for the students outside north-south, what opportunities we have? Savita.
Thank you very much. As he rightly introduced, I'm a big advocate of the Toastmasters program, especially for the youth. So I will start with addressing you,
Sure.
sir.
Thank you.
The Gavel Club that I'm jumping, there is an avenue in Toastmasters for kids. The book says it's 12 to 18. However, in my experience, when I ran the club for the youth, there were a couple of students, maybe just like your son, that just persisted so much that I made an exception. And believe me, that kid took over the whole class. And then we have competitions too. We have Inter-Gal Club. I don't know about other states, but if there is enough interest, this is what I plan to do anyway, speaking to the international president that gets elected. Probably today is the election in Toastmasters International, or it already happened yesterday. So I want to push this to get more and more youth leadership and gavel clubs. So gavel club, anybody can open.
Sure.
So I would say, since as a parent you are so passionate, talk to me about opening a gavel club and opening it up, because it's an individual entity.
Sure.
And then my dream is to have a national level inter-gavel club contests.
Absolutely.
So there is hope.
Okay, we'll talk.
Let's
Is that
connect.
going to be online or is it going to be?
It depends on the, looks like there is some interest, so let's address it.
I kind of wanted to move a little bit away from Toastmasters and kind of talk about like TED Talks, like if you were interested as a high schooler in doing that. I know that there are some opportunities and some schools do advocate for that, but do you have any tips on how you can either open that up or get into it?
Into TED Talks?
Yeah.
I do not
Okay.
know much about it.
So from north-south point of view, right, I'm planning to bring that up also, to arrange TEDx contest, not the contest, TEDx speak.
Okay.
North-south at TEDx speaks or whatever, in the chapters. So we are thinking about that, we have not discussed that.
Okay.
Probably when we do the north-south finals, we will do that on the side. But there are some restrictions from the TEDx, right?
Correct,
So you
they're all
cannot
different
be-
bodies, so
yeah.
we
You
haven't
cannot be
gotten into the
associated
bodies.
Yeah.
with any event. That has to be standalone, independent. There are a lot of things associated with that. So we are going to find out and get back on that.
Correct.
Anil, you want to say something about the Gavel Club that you started, how it helped?
Yeah, so when I was in high school, we had a gavel club that used to meet every week. I believe it was on Fridays after school. we used to go through and do basically what a Toastmasters meeting looks like. So we give our speeches, we do evaluation of those speeches, we have all the functionary roles. It was also pretty good because sometimes we got to like veer off from the so Toastmasters has a very specific path of speeches that they want you to follow. And if we had like an assignment coming up, so I was in the IB program, the International Baccalaureate program, and your junior year, for English, you have to give like a lot of speeches. And I remember one of them was about like poetry. And so we instead, for like a couple of weeks, we ditched the Toastmasters thing and we just gave speeches on the poetry and we focused it on that. So it was kind of useful for that, yeah.
So how would you open a club like that?
Yeah.
Do you have to go nationally and request?
Yes, there's a form on Toastmasters.org you have to fill out to request a Gavel Club. You'll have to get approval from like your school to do it in your school's name.
Looks like there's a lot of interest in Gavel clubs. Talk to us.
Sure.
Talk
Yeah,
to us.
it's not a hard process because they want you to start a Gavel Club.
Okay.
Also, Toastmasters support is great. Like I've called them a couple of times and
Yeah.
they're always very
They're awesome.
Like-
the club has to be aligned with the school or?
It does not have to be. So in my case, I wanted it to be because
It's typically
it's like you can do it on your own, like it can be community based, but if it was school aligned in my case, it meant that we could leverage some of the benefits of being a school funded organization, and you could also leverage those leadership positions to carry over on like the school level to like be representing like your student government and those kinds of things, which I wanted experience on. But it's not like a hard restriction. If your school says no or makes it really complicated to start a club, you can definitely start one at like your local community
My
library.
question is more towards the homeschool kids, right?
Oh yeah, you can definitely do one. You just
I do it for the temple.
Yeah, you can definitely.
So it's not related to a school.
Yeah.
Anybody who has a venue and has like-minded individuals that can support it can start a Gavel Club. And it's free for the students. And Gavel Club is not just for the youth, just a clarification if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Time.
Yeah, we are.
It is done for people who cannot pay for membership. It's done in jails too, for all the inmates of the jail. So students qualify under that criteria. The definition in Toastmasters is Gavel Club is a free club, no membership payment. So
We'll do that.
I was just going to suggest if you both try to contact
definitely,
me.
we can do that. Since we're talking about the Gavel Club, I just want to say something. I have, in my head, come up with this concept. I call it the triple play program. Don't think that I plagiarized it from Xfinity, but you start with the youth. This is what happened in my own experience in the Livermore Temple here in California. I started a youth leadership program. I asked the temple to sponsor it because we need we need to buy the books for the kids. For the kids it is free, but whoever is sponsoring it needs to fund it. It's $5 per kid or something. So the temple said as part of the youth activities they will allow. So I started the youth leadership program. Once I was just going to do that to check a mark for my Distinguished Toastmaster Award. That's all I was interested in. But when I ran the program, I saw that it gave me so much benefit. I learned so much from the kids, you know. They are so much better than us because they get trained in school and all. We were not so fortunate, right? So after that, the kids came to me, I want to continue doing this, what do I do? And I said, second youth leadership program is not a good thing to do. Then I heard about Gavel Club, I started the Gavel Club. Now the question comes, Gavel Club is continuous. There has to be one adult, you cannot leave the kids on their own. So then how do I get that? I can't be that person all the time. We need adults to support me. And that gave rise to adult Toastmasters. So I opened an adult Toastmasters within the temple so that the adults from this group can support the Gavel Club. They can run the youth leadership program. And just like we did, my students ran the youth leadership program. So I call that the triple play program. You know, it's all connected. And the kids would say, Mom and Dad, you do it. You know how hard it is. You know, then they all come to the temple as a group, and at the same time, the adults are doing their Toastmasters, the kids are doing their youth leadership or Gavel Club. So it became a nice, until the pandemic hit, of course.
So the North-South, right, talking about the coaching classes, we have that summer offering and then the, I think, fall offering. That's like a 8-week session, same thing, and conducted by the Distinguished Toastmasters and then the public speaking experts. They are all the coaches. Now the advantage is there is you choose your date and time and then you attend that session. That's how the offering is being done by the North-South.
Okay.
The other thing, as we conclude, right? So public speaking is very important, that to communicate and convey the message what you want, especially when you start your kids. If you are a kid, if you start early enough, you will see the fruitfulness as soon as possible. Now, if you are an adult, there is no, you can start at any time. But encouraging your kids will make you very proud. Now, I spoke about Anirudh, right? So I highlighted that 4th grade when he was sitting in the back. That may not be a good thing from his point of view that I highlighted, but I've seen so many other things which I didn't talk from what are the things that he accomplished or he achieved when he came through that public speaking from the internship point of view and other things. So maybe Anirudh, you want to say a few words on?
Here, I'll give it very short in case people want to ask questions.
So this is again highlighting the impromptu speaking skills, how to come up the thought process, how to impress the audience, whether that is 100 people or 3 panel members sitting in front of you. This is from the store. As adults, we can talk whatever we want, but the kids listen to other accomplishers from their side, right? So that's why, can you share so that the students can, when they walk out, they will be asking the parents, I want to sign up for that, I want to sign up for that. And parents should say many times, when you wanted to go to that program, this program, I will be like whining and complaining, no, I have this, I can't do this. Sometimes I thought, why did I introduce him to this program? Why he is asking me to drive 8 weeks to this far for county sponsorship and so on. So that's the thing that I started feeling. But that was a very good feeling that I had. So convey a message to their students from your point of view.
So for context here, I currently go to Berkeley. I don't know if we really mentioned this, but there's a program that they have that combines ideas to combine like management skills and technology skills. It's called the MET program. And one of the things that I've realized in being in that program is that there's a lot of things that come about with being able to communicate effectively. So a lot of the internships that I've had are primarily in product management, ideas that you have some sort of like software, technical product, right? But you have to be able to think about what does a user want in that product and how do we build that for them. It really comes down to communication. And I think even if you think about any job, right? If you think about like at a very high level what do you do, right? Like let's say like you're building software. The highest level technical architects don't code, they write documents, they speak, right? And this is true for any organization, anything, right? If I think about like civil engineering, if I'm building a building, right? If I'm building a set of buildings, maybe at like the base levels, right? I'm actually physically going out there and building, but as you start going higher and higher, it becomes how do you communicate the ideas, how do you plan, and how do you go about that? And that's really what public speaking has helped with, right? It just comes down to the idea of can you communicate well? So I gave the example earlier about internships, right? You're able to apply for these internships, you're able to do well in these interviews. But then it also comes down to the actual job, right? So I will message, so this past summer I was working at this company called Databricks. I don't know if anyone has heard of it, but I was working on their serverless compute. I heard some yeses, so I'll go into some detail. What I would do is I would literally just message people that were like 3 or 4 levels above me that have been at the company since it began or have been working since like 1990s. They would say something that was before I was born, so I just zone out a little bit for the date. But they've been there. My point is that they've been there a very long time. And you go there and you talk to them. A lot of interns love to go and talk to these people, right? They're like, oh, like what do you work on? It's something that you're supposed to do. But I think from the way that I was asking my questions, there was a certain level of interest that they had, right? They'd follow up after and be like, oh, tell me how your project goes, right? Or down the line, if I was wondering, oh, like, what decision should I make for this career choice, right? Or should I accept this offer or that offer? These are the people that will come in and happily help me because I'm able to communicate and able to impress them in this public speaking, right? It's literally like every single interaction you have across the line, right? Like it starts out with it being like contests and competitions, then it becomes like volunteering somewhere along the line, then eventually becomes with your job, right? Regardless of whatever it is, it's one of the skills that will pay dividends no matter what you do, right? And I think that's something that's really important to highlight, which is all the various things that you want to do, right? And in some way, shape, or form, it's linked back to how do you ask for that, how do you explain it, how do you do it, and all that ties back to public speaking.
Articulate.
Thank you, Anirudh. So I'm already seeing the benefit of from him. You know, I want you also, the parents, to see that. For that, you have to start showing the interest to the kid. I have no interest on the public speaking to start with. So then later I picked up, and I'm glad that he's doing it, and also you also do it. So this, with that, just wanted to highlight public speaking. It's okay to be nervous, and there are some tricks and techniques, and you can get better at it. And more the kids, the more they do it, they get more benefits at later point of time. They will communicate, convey in the professional setting, in the personal setting, everything. It opens up a lot of venues. And we highlighted about the North-South, what it can offer, support the North-South. You are all here flying out from outside. That shows your commitment to your kids. And kids appreciate your parents' efforts that they are taking you all these things. So it's time to do well, whatever you are doing already well, and just do the best and make your parents very proud and happy because it's your future. And also, Savita, thank you for coming here, 40 minutes drive, and she was busy last week, and she's here early morning on a Saturday with all, in spite of our busy schedule. And she highlighted about all the opportunities that we have, we can provide to our kids. And a takeaway for me is to North-South to see whether they can offer the contest and the coaching for the younger kids who are interested, and then arranging some TEDx events. Those are my takeaways as a business coordinator. And thank you, Anirudh. Thank you, Savita. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Yeah, there's a marker there. So.
Yes, please, I'll be happy.
Yeah. I don't know whether is it recorded or
Excuse me?
the session.
This one, yeah, recorded and live streaming. Yeah.
Oh yeah, live streaming and recorded. Thank you.
Yes.
They have a lot of different contests and subsets. The one that I was doing is called Global Classrooms Initiative. So it's an international one done in here. So it's done in the United Nations building.
Are you interested for yourself or your children? See, this is the thing, you know, everybody is interested for their children. When I say why don't you do 100% not for my children? But I will say, start with you. Start with you. Are you, I told you, start with you. That's a very interesting combination. See, in that respect, I think starting a gap club is not a problem for you at all. I want to propagate this.
I think my high schools, they can do that, but I know some of the high schools, a lot of high schools do the TEDx things. So I think try to inform that that requires you to be your high school. Yeah, so a lot of people, I had a lot of things that I recommended like there were a lot of things that I did actually on I wanted to go to like elementary school. There's a period of time where it's the final exams. I've kind of exposed to the assessment, and then after that, for 3 weeks, they don't and I literally watch movies in class. So I was like, what if I could get for 45 minutes?
So you're not finding
I'm also not doing it, right? So the one of those things where it's like, I know I have a chance to like follow through, but they're not involved somehow into like doing counties. It really just comes down to I know that's like very broad, but it's like,
yeah. It would be apples to apples though, but other cases. Stop. I love propagate, and if it's sprouting here and there, I so just set up, text me, email me to begin with, and then I will send you my. Actually, you know what? Sometimes I just want to text.
Biggest one is you have 30 minutes.
And there is the game about it.
Oh, no, yeah. You have 30 minutes.
I'm very happy about it, so.
Don't
Out
keep
here, you already
changing
have
it
context.
because, in that time, you want to make sure that so I say like 5 minutes, like that, but like you're gonna, once you take something, you don't commit to it.
Yes, Toastmasters is the organization I support. It's 100 years old, so I don't need to reinvent anything, just join.
I'm doing.
Yes, lot of clubs are now because of the pandemic. Earlier, yes, thanks to the pandemic, they started everything online.
Like national security,
Oh.
that's what I mean. The one word of caution I would have on this, so on the national side, that's what I think. One of the problem is, there's always a drama with drive back.
Yeah.
If you lose, it's always the person's fault. It's all gonna call for that. If you're doing Douglas, we're not issuing. I think events do this, the more time you're in event, the better. Right, you can always get faster speaking. It's something that will consume you. It will take But the thing is you want to win at the highest level. I presume even if your circuit is more traditional, if you want to go out to the big events like Glenbrook, Whiskey,
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Very talented.
Yeah, it's we are done.
Right now it's live streaming, and I think there's gonna be a different.
Yeah, we can stop this program.
Yeah, I stopped recording, but I still have to keep live streaming.
Oh, that's why when we text to the kids, it's a different message.
Yeah.
When we talk, they think that, oh, as an adult, they are doing.
No, I mean, you guys are amazing.
Thank you. You're from Texas?
Jimmy, yeah, Houston.
I think we met before.
Maybe, yeah. I've seen you around here.
In Houston and MIT also, right?
Yes.
Yeah, in Houston, MIT, and what is the other one? Maryland.
Yeah.
You were in Maryland?
So my boss, yeah, he's.
Okay. That's nice. Thank you.
That's a question you have to ask. That's a question. All I can say is conservative, but I'm
And it's a shame. It's a shame that people don't know that for the youth, it's not just within the country. So yeah, it's not right? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I need to look at these. Yeah. I just address these questions.
Where we are at right now, there are many opportunities for women students. The school does not offer.
Where are you,
In our Pennsylvania.
Okay.
We need it.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll finish this conversation. Where do I need to come?
And then
To the control room.
Yes, I'll be there.
adults
have
Yeah.
They have to be Toastmasters. That is why I say adults go become Toastmasters first. If you're passionate about something for your kids or for just kids in the community. Unfortunately for me, by the time kids came to know, my kids are already grown up. And they are happy that I stick with them. Good for them. But then when I came to know that about this program, I said, wow, it changed lives. And these kids, you know,
The
when I
problem is
see on
if you're going
Facebook
to eighth grade,
that they went to study in
usually
foreign
it's
lands and all,
best if
and
you're
they
going
come
to
and tell
sixth, they
me,
need you to
Savita,
get seventh,
Auntie,
so you can do
because
try spending a year
I did
convincing the
Toastmasters,
school.
I won my science fair, and there was a
By
big
this time, they would have
and
already
the girl
had
said,
to
Auntie,
sign
I
up for the
could not have done
competitions
this
to
without
do.
Toastmasters.
Which is
Where
why
is
it's- why
Toastmasters?
not
There's an
get everyone
arrangement
here?
because they have to
If
explain
you're
the
supposed to
mudras
do
and all that.
FBLA or
Right?
that, they're
So
right in
it
these
just helps in every walk of life.
Yeah, see,
So
those
it
are
does make
usually
you
the
first
common
of all
ones.
become a Toastmaster.
They might,
And then you run a youth leadership
there
program.
are,
You can also aspire
my
to
school
get a
did that, I know all my California friends did that, which is
So
why
as
I
part
know
of the
it.
award, once you
My
check
school is
boxes
in
is
the
run a youth
FBLA,
leadership
HOSA,
program.
which do have
And
a
then you
future
get
institutes
some
of America.
core
And
set of
HOSA is
youth
some health occupations, but they have like something like
Yeah,
CPC,
Gala
like
becomes a
compete in.
continuous thing.
So you can compete in
It's like
those.
they
I
can
think
do it
one
from
of the
12
thing
years
is,
to 18
the reason why I
years.
asked where you're from is
So
because
for
Pennsylvania
those
should
6
have,
years, if they
has enough
continuously
people that
do
you should
it,
have some youth
they
leadership
are
program you
going to have
contact
a definite
your
advantage
Toastmasters
over
district and
other
you express interest.
right?
It might also be
So
worth
to
looking
begin
at
with,
the
you're not a
Toastmasters districts that
Toastmaster.
are within the areas that you would like to drive to. Because I think
It depends on your passion. I took 5 years because the first 2 years I kind of
the Bay Area.
and in the next 3 years I finished my
Oh, I find it.
For me, it's
Yeah.
more than an MBA. Because you do
Okay, I think
there
contacting
and
would be best.
every week I'm
then-
a member of 5 chapters. You do
I don't think I deserve all that accolades that you put in, but yes, I have been associated with North-South Foundation for about 20 years, only because I believe in the mission of the organization. I love the fact that we don't have to fundraise with this foundation. We are doing work to benefit the kids in the US as well as in India. And that's something that's very unique to North-South Mission. There are some chairs over here and then some you can stand at the back. So I would encourage, very strongly encourage every parent and every child over here to volunteer. There's no other organization like North-South with the kind of work that we do and the kind of opportunities that are provided for parents, working parents, stay-at-home moms, working moms, kids who are graduating or phasing out of North-South. Many of them, hundreds of them have come back to volunteer at North-South, and you can see many of them sitting over here. They're all products of North-South Foundation. So welcome everyone and give the panel a big round of applause. From all over the place, everybody is working in school, doing different things, and still have taken the time to come back year after year to volunteer for both the regionals as well as the national finals. So thank you, panel, for being here. This kid has been here for a long time, right? So I don't have a formal introduction for him because he just said, I want to speak to the parents and I want to impress upon them about how important history being is. I'm fine. I know I'm fine. He is a student at Brown right now, studying history, has charted out different career paths that is waiting in the future for him. He's the youngest chapter director at North South. When he was in high school itself, he led the San Jose chapter, right? No, San Jose chapter. He has helped in co-authoring some of the history books for a Yale professor. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce myself.
Hi everyone, my name is Harshal. You might have seen me today running around. I was basically the coordinator of all the non-technical volunteers, so busy day today. And as Savita said, I am a writing sophomore at Brown, and I am in history. And in addition to that, in North South, I participated actually mostly in athletes when I was starting third grade, and then 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. But then I discovered my passion for history in high school. And in my junior and senior years, I was the director of San Jose's chapter. And also in senior year. And also, isn't really doing anything.
No, that's not connected, so I just keep it there. It's not connected to any system, it's just for the live.
Oh.
Oh. It's a prop.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you'll get used to it.
And also in my senior year, I actually started North-South history coaching program. So the way I developed my way I kind of discovered and developed my passion for history was actually in my sophomore year AP World History class. So I came into my STEM-focused high school, if any of you recognize the Harker School in San Jose, California, which is a very STEM-focused high school. And if you know the previous San Jose chapter director, Mrs. Vandana Kadam, she is main math teacher at the Harker Middle School. So Harker School, as you know, is known for winning a lot of science and math competitions. And I came there because I did a lot of math competitions, including North-South when I was in middle school. But I didn't really like the environment there that much because it was really competitive. And in my sophomore year AP World History class, I just somehow fell in love with the curriculum. And one topic that stood out in particular was India's Mughal Empire. And this was in around November of 2019 when I was a sophomore in high school. And not only did I kind of realize I liked the course, my friends in my class recognized that I liked the course and they started to ask me for help. So what I did is I held a mini review session. I called it like a crash course for just a few friends in the cafeteria right before our test. But then they kept asking for more. And they kept telling other people in our class about what I was doing. So I kept hosting these crash courses that year every month when we had a test. And eventually when we had the pandemic, I held them on Zoom. And that inspired me that summer. It inspired me to kind of further explore history because I was kind of unable to secure, and I didn't really want to do a STEM internship like most of my peers at Harker. So the first thing I did was I self-studied AP European history. And my experience with that, although it is a really big course, when you already take a course in world history, it's really easy to kind of learn the general themes of world history. So European history, it's more like you're just learning like European history more specifically. You're not like learning an entirely new course. And after that, I realized that there aren't really many resources to help people with history courses, especially since all my friends were struggling and they're asking me for help. So you might have seen 2 articles about me in the ebook. I created a website and Instagram page to help other people with their AP history courses. And with those in the background, I kept hosting these crash courses for the students in the grades below me in my junior and senior years of high school. And in addition to that, I was really thinking of just doing history as like a passion and still keeping with like math or engineering as the actual major. So again, I started to email professors at local universities to try to secure an internship in like engineering for the summer of my junior year, summer of 2021. So I started in like January, February. And this was when COVID was still into play. And these professors replied that it will be very difficult for me to secure an internship, especially because of COVID. They told me to like reach out in the spring when maybe COVID could ease up. But then I thought I could email history professors, and I know a lot of my friends have done internships with other history professors where they kind of like write their own research paper under the professor's guidance. So I thought I could do that, and I could do that from home so COVID wouldn't come into play. But as Savita was saying, this one professor at Yale replied to my email, and she said that she's the author of a world history textbook that's actually used for AP World History. And as you know, every few years, these textbook authors publish new editions, sometimes to revise the book and to add like info about new research, but sometimes just to make you guys buy the new edition of the book so that like people don't pass down the book for free to their younger peers. And that summer, she was actually revising her book, and she asked me if I wanted to help her revise it. And after working with her that summer, it kind of made me realize that it actually is possible to do history as a career and not just as a hobby. So after that, I eventually got into Brown, and I plan to study history. And I've been doing a lot of other history-related internships. So this summer, actually, that same professor at Yale reached out to me again because she needs to revise her book specifically for the AP World History course. So I'm kind of helping her with that. Additionally, there are a lot of projects in digital humanities where you're kind of entering historical data into a database or things like that. There's a lot of history and CS-related stuff. So part-time, I'm working with a professor at Brown where we're actually creating a database of Native Americans who were enslaved. And I'm also working on another digital humanities project with a professor at Arkansas State University. And there, we're actually translating these testimonies about how Spanish people felt during the Spanish Civil War from Spanish into English, and we're putting that into a database. And in addition to a lot of like digital humanities and like history editorial work, there are a lot of historical and geographical related jobs. Like you can work in a museum, you can work in an archaeological dig site, you could maybe do research for a politician, like work for a congressman, basically doing research and things like that. You could become a professor, but also the skills you learn by studying history, geography, just any sort of humanities are very useful in any career, especially careers that don't really require a specific degree. So careers in like business management, consulting, finance, they sometimes require certifications, but not really a specific degree in like engineering or medicine. So in those cases, a background in like history or poli-sci would be very useful. Because history, like what history has taught me, it's taught me kind of a more like systematic way of thinking, where I always like to plan out my day from beginning to end, or plan out different activities, kind of manage everything from the top to bottom, see how they all fit together. And those skills are really useful in a lot of different like business-related sectors.
Awesome.
So,
thank you so much,
Harshal.
Harshal. Yeah, we'll open up for questions. I think one of the things that you can take away from what Harshal just said is some of the times the way we think, and I don't want to say Indian parents is like we look at like engineering or medicine or law, but there's so much more to it, and encouraging your children in the passion that they have, there's always a career path to it. And like he said, even though his passion for history came, like at some point in high school, he took advantage of that and reached out to the right professors to do what he felt his passion would lead him to. And I think, as you can see, he's the volunteer coordinator over here. I let him go first because he has a lot of responsibilities to take care of. But if anybody has questions, I would like for you to.
So, two questions actually.
Yes.
One is, did your interest in, or your
Passion?
No. Did your training in like math, interest or whatever you did before in high school, like math and sciences, help in digitizing the library? And second, do we have access to all the digitization you're doing?
So the digitization I'm doing for the professor at Brown, we aim to make our database public by the end of by the beginning of next year, so we still have a lot of work to do. But sometime if you email me, I can maybe show you some of the stuff I'm working on. In terms of my background in math, I think my background in math kind of helped me identify patterns in things. And a lot about what I like about history is like filling in the gaps between different things. So for example, like my parents would tell me stories and show me photos of some vacations we went on like when I was younger, when I won't remember. But my knowledge, kind of the way I apply my pattern thinking, like my systematic thinking knowledge of math with my kind of chronological thinking of history allows me to kind of fill in the puzzles, to kind of remember even more, use like what my parents tell me to remember more details about like that vacation than even my parents remember. And even like when you study history, the idea of kind of, I would say what history taught me is the idea of like thinking chronologically about how one event led to another. I think what math taught me is the idea of comparing how one society fared versus how another society fared. So a lot of comparisons. Yes?
First of all, I would like to congratulate you on your achievements. And the second thing, I would like to acknowledge that you are an influencer. Nalanda Rice has been very much helpful for the kids. And my son, he followed your website and he created one for geography.
Oh, wow.
So thank you for that. And the next question, for the history, the kids who are in the elementary and middle school, what are the exposure for them? What are the opportunities for them?
So history in elementary and middle school is very different. It's not really standardized, especially because like I think in elementary school, I'm trying to think, I think in 4th grade we learned, I mean I'm from the Bay, I'm from here, so we learned California history, and then 5th grade was like US history. So that I'm assuming it'll probably differ for each state. And I noticed the history curriculum is not as robust as I think the English curriculum, especially because in elementary school, the teachers really want to build up a foundation in English because that'll be useful in kind of understanding history later on. So I know in a lot of high schools, they don't really have a history placement exam. If you don't get into like English honors, you won't get into history honors, things like that. So I think in elementary school, there isn't that much exposure. And I think that's also one of the reasons why our North-South's junior history league did not really gain that many signups. I think in middle school, it also does vary because again, it's not like the AP exam. So in middle school, like everyone just has like all the generic subjects. And I think honestly, I'm not really sure exactly how the curriculum works in other states and other regions, but I think most of the history I learned, especially one thing I learned, one of the differences is that middle school history is very fact-based. It's about knowing a lot of the facts and things like that. High school history is not really about knowing the facts. It's about knowing the bigger concepts and the ideas. So for example, in middle school, they might ask you who's the founder of the Mughal Empire, and the answer would be Babur. In high school, the way I kind of compare think about high school history, is let's say you're taking a math class. The teacher is not going to ask you to memorize what is 1 plus 1, what is 1 plus 2, what is 2 plus 2. She's going to say, know the basic methods of addition. So that way, if she asks what's 5 plus 7, you won't memorize that 5 plus 7 is 12. You would understand how to do addition while you're studying 1 plus 1, 1 plus 2, and 2 plus 2 to be able to do 5 plus 7 is 12. So likewise, in high school history, they wouldn't ask questions like who founded the Mughal Empire. They would give you examples of how rulers like Babur, Akbar, and even rulers like King Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent of the Ottoman Empire used monumental architecture like the Taj Mahal to legitimize their rule. And then if they would show you a photo of, let's say, the Suleymaniye Mosque in Istanbul, you'd be able to identify by studying that the Taj Mahal helped Shah Jahan showcase his rule. You'd be able to identify that the Suleymaniye Mosque was used in a similar way to allow King Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent to showcase his rule. So I think high school history is a bit more about the themes, and middle school history kind of focuses on the content.
So in the interest of time, we're going to pause. Ashil,
You'll be able to find him at the volunteer tent and around the campus all weekend. You can be here tomorrow too.
Yes, all weekend running around.
All weekend. So you can definitely, catch him between some of his responsibilities today. I really appreciate you stopping by. I know this was unscheduled, but he really wanted to connect with all of you, and so I appreciate you taking the time to talk to all the parents. So give him a big round.
Can we get the Instagram page and
Sure, it's all in the B-book.
Oh, okay.
At the beginning, it will have the catalog. It will be like 2 articles about me. Everything will be in there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Okay, so now we're coming to the GOV portion. We have 4 distinguished panels. I'm going to read very short bios so that you'll have more time with them speaking to you about where they started with their geography journey, where they are in their careers, how they built their interest, just like Harshal talked about it, and then we'll talk about how Ram will give you some tips about how to study and learn more about the geography around us. And Abhiram will probably also help us with telling the kids how to prepare for the contests and how you got interested in geo. Yes? Okay, so we're starting with Neeraj. Neeraj is a GIS software engineer. He started at North-South as a competitor many years ago. I don't want to reveal how old you are. He has a bachelor's degree in GIS from University of Texas in Dallas. He has been avidly passionate for geography since a young age. He placed second in the 2006 National Geographic Bee and second in the 2007 National Geographic World Championship. He also placed third in the 2007 AAA Travel Challenge. And that's where I think when he was competing in the geography competitions, his interest in geography started, when he started actually at North-South Foundation. He hails from the New England area, so I've known him since he was like a little kid in middle school participating. And after he competed in the National Geographic Bee, he came back and ran geography workshops for us. He's continued his career in geography, and I literally forced him to come back and help us volunteer. So he's one of our core team members, and I'm really thrilled that Neeraj was able to join us today in spite of his busy schedule. Welcome, Neeraj. Sunil Iyer. He's an oceanographer and postdoctoral research associate at the Oregon State University. He holds a PhD and a master's degree in oceanography from the University of Washington and a bachelor's degree in marine science and geology from the University of South Carolina. His research is focused on improving our understanding of the physical processes of the tropical upper ocean, including waves, currents, atmospheric ocean interactions, and ocean mixing. It's a lot higher than I can understand. But in his early years, he participated in the National Geographic Bee. I believe you were also a runner-up at the National Geographic Bee. And he has been volunteering for a long time. Sunil Iyer is Ram Iyer's son, so they have been working so hard for North-South Foundation and the Geography Bee specifically for many, many years. And I literally don't think we would have had a robust geography program without the two of them. So thank you very much for your contribution. This is Abhiram Girish. Abhiram, he's only 12. He's a geography enthusiast. He's studying at Gomes Elementary in the Bay Area. In 2021, he won the Senior Geography Championship at the North-South Foundation Finals. In 2022, he won the IAC's U.S. Elementary School Geography Championship. He has a budding interest in politics, enjoys mythology, and is a fan of Amachitra comics. I do too. I have a massive collection. It's awesome. Thank you, Abhiram, for being here. He has been volunteering for North-South because he too found, how North-South influenced him in his geography passion. So welcome. And last but not the least, Ram Iyer. I am beyond thrilled to have Ram over here. He's been with North South for many, many years, took a short hiatus, and we're glad to have him back. He's currently the North South Geography Core Team Lead. He has been volunteering for North South since 2008 in different forms. He was also the Geography Core Team member prior to 2013. Outside of North South, he has helped many participants in the former National Geographic B that has since been discontinued, I believe, during COVID. Ram still helps students who are interested in learning geography. He has enjoyed his interaction with the geography enthusiasts at North South and elsewhere over the years. In the past, Ram has also written geography guides to help participants in competitions. And I can attest to that. Both my boys started their geography journey when they were very young and went through 8th grade for North South Foundation, and we have used Ram's books as guidance. They're amazing. So welcome, everyone. So we will start with Ram to talk a little bit about the geography program. Why is it important, and the kind of resources that students as well as parents can use to hone those interests that the kids have.
Yeah, it's first and foremost, just like this youngster is doing. If they are interested in reading, make a note of that and kind of encourage. That's the first thing to do. And don't go into encyclopedia and things like that. Don't try to memorize. Let them get interested in, you will notice it, by the way, but let them get interested in animal shows, simple things, get some things from the library for, really young kids. Don't think of huge stuff and, big stuff. Let them get interested, And when you are watching the news, let them get interested in those items appropriate for them, and let them think and let them ask questions. And when they ask questions, get the appropriate books, even first grade, second grade, third grade, big letters, large font, get that, and just get them interested and encourage at all times, and you will find that it will ultimately, they will get better than yourself. So they will pick it up and then they will run with it. So parents have to just encourage. That's the only thing they can do. And there are many resources. National Geographic atlases are the best. I know sometimes they have a few errors, but still you should be able to figure out that. So I would start with the National Geographic atlases. And then build up from there. You can look, as you get older, you can look into Britannica and other items. And that's the way to do it. As a parent, that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Ram.
Yeah, and then they can fill in some other stuff. They will be able to.
Some of the pointers we got was take blank maps, whether it's of India or of the US. Start small. The question I think parents give us or the students have is like, geography is so vast. How do we help the kids? Right? Start small.
Start small. Yeah.
Start
Yeah,
small.
don't
And
think
I
of
think
big stuff.
I think I remember you mentioned many years ago when I was looking for guidances. The library has little books of just each country that talks about, the language, the currency, the flag, their culture, their food, their art forms, just simple things. So if you introduce your kids to one book, every few days, they're small enough for them to absorb. So you build from the foundation up,
And also don't shy away from television. There are many programs on television you should be able to watch. You can learn quite a bit from television, even sports. Whatever sports they are interested in, let them watch the sports, see where it is played, what countries they're in, what is so special about those countries. So build up from their interest. If they are interested in animals, get them the animal books.
National parks.
Yes,
Right.
where why those animals are growing in certain terrain, what's the reason, why is that animal not found in another part of the world. That's how you will build the interest, so that they have to see the context instead of just memorize.
So I'll go to Sunil. Sunil, I know you got started with probably some of North-South Foundation's programs, but then you built on preparing for the National Geographic B and made a career out of geography. Can you talk about your journey and where you are now?
Sure, I'd be glad to. So I guess I'll start even before I participated in bees. So when I was a really little kid, like 3, 4, 5, I always loved to watch TV and on animals and nature, wildlife, all of that stuff. And I've of course learned a little bit about that, but what really helped me nurture that interest and learn more about the world was participating in geography bees. Not really the bee itself, but the process of preparing for them. I learned about countries. I learned about how the world works. I learned about a variety of subfields of geography, whether that's science, whether that's politics, and that allowed me to really think about what I wanted to do as a career. So as I aged out of the bee and went to high school, I knew I wanted to do something related to earth science and sort of that physical geography side, which I had gained a lot of knowledge from just by being in the bee, which helped a lot. But going through that process, I learned that there are a lot of serious problems our world faces, and one of those is climate change. And that's that, in combination with my previous knowledge, really inspired me to develop a career in oceanography. And that's what I majored in college, and ultimately that's what I'm doing now. And I can even say a little bit more specifically about my work. So my work is focused on, as Savita mentioned, the upper ocean, and that's really important because that interacts with the atmosphere, and that in turn affects global climate. So by working in this field, it allowed me to both look at some of these big issues that I was first exposed about through participating in geography bees and preparing, but also develop some of those early interests about nature, which I've always had and I hold dear. So I think that's sort of a base level of my geography journey.
I did.
If I make a quick follow-up for
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
It's a great journey, very inspiring. So I was just curious to know that as part of all these different participations and maybe some awards that you won along the way, did that help you in your college admission process? Did that get you a scholarship? What were the other perks that you?
So I don't think it directly helped. I don't think the admissions committee will look and see, oh, you did well in the National Geographic Bee, you did well in NSF, and decide to give a scholarship based on that. But it did help when I was writing those essays. I could show a genuine passion for that field, and I think that is what carried over and helped me more so than a line in the resume.
Yeah, I can add one more to it. Yeah, it's not about whether you won the bee or whatever ranking you had. College admissions will not look at your middle school championship. What they might be interested in is what you are doing after your middle school. Are you doing something in high school that shows that you are interested in certain areas? And that you can use to link back to, oh, I was doing this even during middle school. Exactly. But if you don't do anything after 8th grade, it will be of no use at all for admissions.
So I have a question for Ram as a parent and for Sunil as the kid. Did your passion for geography start with your kids' interest in geography when they started this journey, or were you interested in this ahead of time and then you introduced them to geography? I'm just curious.
It started when I saw he was interested in.
Right.
Yes, I was interested in, my grandfather was interested in, but I didn't realize you can do so much more. I didn't realize till Neeraj and Sunil, people like them, took interest in it. And I realized, oh, they are really interested in it. So I got back into it and started getting back to it, and then I learned with them. So that's what happened.
So Sunil, my question is, and any of you kids can answer, young adults can answer, is did your parents, and I guess Ram answered it, but did your parents ever object to this line of your interests? Like, did they force you into like, no, engineering is better, computer science is better, medicine, that's sort of like the standard process that we usually follow.
Right. That's really a great question. And no, my dad, my mom, they always said to follow your passion. And I think that's also one thing that a lot of people don't think about. They think about what job can I get with this degree, and there are jobs in every field, and I think including all the related subfields of geography, whether that's sort of on the more science side, like what I'm doing, or on more the social sciences side. So it never was forced, and just it naturally came. Yeah.
Same question for you, Neeraj. Did you feel like your parents were pushing you onto a different career path than the one that you chose? And I'll let you talk about your journey in a bit, but I just wanted to see if you could answer this first.
Yeah, sure. No, I never thought that my parents ever forced me into any one field. It's actually after I competed in the North-South Foundation geography competitions in New England that I realized that I myself had a passion in geography in the first place. I would never have come to figure out that I had such an interest in geography and that I was so good at it had I not taken part in the NSF competitions in New England. And this was back in 2005. So those competitions were kind of like the start of my journey into geography. And ever since then, I've been following geography as a career in these past 15 years or so. So I would definitely give all the credit to North-South Foundation for kind of like stimulating my passion and inspiring me to further excel in the field. But yes, in terms of choosing geography as a career path, my family fully supported me, and here in the U.S. there are so many options for pursuing a career in geography. If you look at the field of GIS, for example, if you look at the field of GIS, which is Geographic Information Systems, you will find numerous opportunities in this field, and that's a direct application of geography to studying the world in different domains.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter. What age did you start? How old were you when you started your geography journey with North-South?
I was 13 years old, and this was in Boston, in the Boston area. And then immediately after that, so this was in 2005, when I placed first in the regionals in New England. And then in 2006, I was in 8th grade, and I took part in the National Geographic B. And the National Geographic B only goes from grades 4 through 8. So it was my first and last chance to take part in the national level B. And then I was second place in that one. So that actually kind of further encouraged me to pursue a career in geography in the future.
And you worked at National Geographic, right, after you graduated from college?
Yeah, I worked. Yeah, so actually it was more of an internship at National Geographic Society. I actually worked in the geography education department, so I was actually working with the team that makes the questions for the National Geographic B. So it was quite a different experience.
And so and you came from India, you were not born in the US, right? You
Correct.
Came from India, so he was fortunate to have found North-South Foundation, even though it was that late in the game. And his passion was that strong that he put in the time and effort to, to be able to participate in both national North-South Foundation, win that, and then go to the National Geographic B. Neeraj also at that time was very passionate about wanting to share his geography journey with kids who wanted to learn. So he had set up a website and created maps. I mean, I remember that. I bought it for $14.95. I don't know how much money he made, but I bought that. You had like created detailed country maps on your website that I found to be very useful for my kids.
Yeah, so basically when I was preparing for the National Geographic Bee, the way I kind of organized all my notes is that I made this giant Excel sheet with all the key information about every single country, and then a separate Excel sheet with information about every single U.S. state. And I organized it into all these 15 or so categories, so like religions, ethnic groups, languages, physical features, and all that. And ultimately, when I printed out that chart, it was almost like 10 feet tall. So there's a lot of information. I mean, like when you actually start preparing for something like this, there's so much to read and so much to study. But if you keep organized and if you focus and stay on track, yeah, you will do well.
Awesome. Yeah, go ahead.
Would you still have that book?
He took it down. I tried to look for it for my second son. He took it down.
A signed copy today. Things have changed a lot.
Yeah,
so
they have.
go
Yeah,
for
the world has changed.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
NGB now has been not continuing anymore,
Yes.
right? I believe.
Correct.
So what's the path here for the kids who are involved here? Where do they participate to get the same kind of?
So Ram, you'll check that?
Yeah, participate in North-South Foundation, for sure.
Yeah.
And there is the International Geography Bee, and there are some better things in International Geography Bee than the National Geographic Bee, because they have like age level, grade level. So they have, I think, first through fourth, or first to second, fourth, fifth, sixth, and things like that. So yeah. So although I think the papers are same, but the grading is within that group. Is that right, Sunil? Yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
It is within that group. So International Geography B, and it's the U.S. Geography Championships is also a part of that, similar. So those two are the ones you can participate, and you can participate even from very young age. And the only thing is there's no prize. You just get medal. There won't be any money and all, but that's okay. You are going to learn.
The impact of
It's good.
was to kind of like the impact of spelling bee or the geography bee and GBs are pretty well evident and known, right? Compared to like the competition of the similar nature. Like, is this similar nature?
It's quality wise, it's good. Quality wise, it's good. There's no prize money.
Yeah,
That's all. But quality wise, it is good. It's more flexible. You don't have to register with a school and stuff like that. You can do, if you're interested, you may be able to do it. And so, yeah, I would encourage doing that if your sons or daughters are interested in geography. And, let them advance that knowledge, because even if National Geographic Society has canceled, the geography is not going away. In fact, climate science might become more a prominent thing. So that knowledge is very important. So you should do that. And participate in the National NSF. Depending on how long I will be here, I want to incorporate that type of learning.
So it's
a little bit more
journey.
practical.
Right, it's
Yes.
a learning journey.
Yeah.
Right.
So participating in NSF might also help in those competitions in the future. Not exactly like it's not tailor-made for that. We have to have some north-south related stuff in there too. But it will help in keeping up with that interest.
So coming to Abhiram, he won the North-South Foundation's national finals a couple of years ago during COVID, right? So I want you to talk about like when did you get interested in geography? When did you start your North-South Foundation's journey? And what would you suggest for the kids who are starting now, or they're like in their lower grades, or even if they're in the senior geography level? Give them some tips of how they can get started on this in itself.
So my geography journey started when my grandparents gave me an atlas when I think I was 5, and that got me interested. So I started competing in NSF competitions in 2018. I didn't do that well when I went to nationals, but then I studied from various sources for 2-3 years, and then in 2021 I won the senior geography B. And then in 2022, I won IAC's national championship for the elementary level. And then this year, I got interested in Quiz Bowl, and our school team got 8th place at nationals this year. So what I would recommend for kids who are at NSF competitions is, for geography competitions, is first you should listen to the clues they are providing for you, because if you don't know the answer straight away, you can at least make an educated guess from the clues they give. This might seem trivial, but it helped me a lot in 2021. Also, you should take your time. You have 15 seconds to answer the question in oral rounds, and I think also in the final round as well. So you can actually analyze and think through what you're going to say. I would also recommend using YouTube as a resource, because there is every aspect of geography can be everything you want to learn in geography can most likely be found in YouTube. It has also really helped me as well. And you can also use a friend to help you bolster your knowledge in geography. That way, you can ask questions. It's a mutual benefit. And that's it from me.
Awesome. Do you recommend any books or resources or library manuals that you can suggest to the parents?
You can use the Nat Geo Atlas. It helped me for the most part. And like I said, you can also use YouTube to help you increase your knowledge.
Awesome. Thank you, Abhidam. Yes, please.
So, my 8-year-old, he prefers not to memorize the things, and it's hard for me to force him, because that makes sense not to memorize the things. But any suggestions on how can I, if he has a context to remember it?
Right. So I don't know if you're probably new to geography.
Yes.
Is this your first year? Last year, after the competitions, I had conducted a review session where we took some of the questions that most of the kids miss and basically taught them how to link the facts, right? The clues that are in the question, you will always find a way to link them. So even in, like today's exam, or even in the regional contest, we don't make it difficult for the kids, like Ram was saying, let me know how the scores are. We'll make it easier, because we want to encourage the kids to come back and participate. So that is our goal. Our goal is to continue to challenge them, but we want them to grow their interest. We want them to come back and participate because they want to learn more, right? So we always build in multiple clues into the questions. So he's right. I'm assuming it's your son, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So he is right in not wanting to memorize, but actually finding connections, right? So if he's reading an atlas, right? So he opens up to a particular state or a country. So he will go to a particular region, and then you will look over there. What are the water bodies around there? What river flows through some of the main cities. So that is how he needs to, connect his context. So once you connect those dots, you will never forget. I think there was somebody who gave this clue to my kids. When you're looking at it like the 7 wonders of the world, just don't go random, right? There are 7 wonders of the world, but the kids are little. Okay, I'm picking one from here, picking one from there. Go from east to west, or go from west to east. So you have that order. So they connect. Okay, I am here in the east. Okay, I'm in Japan now. Where do I go? I go to China. Wherever are the world monuments, right? You create your path that way. That way you'll never forget. And there are some other clues that we have, like, Central America, the countries are so small, you don't know how to remember them. So our acronym was big goats eat hay, and near the coast of Mexico or Panama or something. So we knew what country was coming before and after. So you can help them, as parents you can help them find ways to build these clues, or the kids, they're smart enough to find a way to do their own, clue building. So that is how I would say, do not memorize because you will forget.
Yeah, just like she said, the cows, hay, when they're eating that almost gives you the idea, okay, it cannot be this country or that country. You will be able to limit your area.
So help them spend time so that they digest it and form some clues so
Right.
that they'll develop their
Right.
interest.
And there are a lot of games, and I don't know if the panel has used it. I'm sure you guys have. There are a lot of geo games online, and we did that a lot, right? There's river cruise quizzes, there's quizzes about just countries, about the cities. So we use those resources a lot for my kids, and you guys can kind of pitch in and say what else strategies that you use to expand the knowledge.
Different, but yeah, you can.
Yeah, I mean, like when I was preparing for the National Geographic Bee, I remember that they used to put 5 questions every single day online called GeoBee Challenge.
Yes.
And those questions were actually taken straight from the competition itself. So I used to do that every single day. And then I also used to go to this website called geography.about.com, which I don't think exists anymore. But
Yeah, even that one is gone. The other one, the 5, daily 5 is also gone.
Oh, okay, yeah. But basically that website had blank maps that I could just print out and I could fill them out by myself. And those maps really helped because when you actually when you look at a blank map and you're trying to put down all the information that you studied, you can test to see whether what you have is true or not. So
Yeah, actually I can, since he said that, don't worry if they are gone. CIA World has a lot of things.
CIA World Facts.
CIA World has a lot of things. UNESCO World Heritage Sites have a lot of things. So yeah, you don't need any books. Sometimes CIA World has a lot of maps, enough maps in conjunction with National Geographic atlases. You will have more than what there's quite a bit.
Yeah. So I just wanted to give a slightly different perspective. You participated in the IAC, and so did my son. So he was the highest ranking semi-finalist 7 years this in June. But what happens is this format that they mentioned is only good for North-South or where you can see the whole question. And there are other formats where they will start reading the question. The minute you pick up and you answer, if you answer, you get, the faster you answer, the higher the points you get, and the higher the penalty. In those formats, if you don't know, you will, by the time you correct, somebody's answer. So it will work differently in different competitions when you have exposure to the whole thing, this linking keywords. Otherwise, if you don't know, you're not in the game.
So yes, one question. Yeah, go ahead.
So when it comes to geography, everybody knows that it's more towards political. Political is what they see first, political. And the thing that we lack is the physical geography. So that's the least thing that we see. But NSF enforces so much on physical part. So when it comes to physical geography, what is the best resource that kids can go and look at? Because that is something that's a vague topic.
There are actually, it's a little unfortunate. I think the schools are not doing it. Is that true?
Yeah,
Yes.
schools are no longer doing it.
They used to do more. Right?
yeah,
So something has happened at the schools. They are not doing it. It looks like there used to be an earth. You can speak after me. There is an earth science course in school, and I know that teachers don't do all the things in the book because of the other kids. But you can always ask the teacher to give you the textbook, and you can read yourself, and that would be a good start. And there are a lot of nice books, and the national television you can learn a lot. But the library does have a lot of books like volcanoes, kids books, ages 3 to 8 or something like that. Volcanoes, oceans, rivers, mountains. Start there. they will get interest. And Neeraj has something to say.
And there's also a book called the National Geographic Desk Reference, and that book actually covers pretty much all of physical geography as well in it. So if you just read that book from start to end,
that's very hard.
It's actually
not for the
or what you
maybe
can do is
the adults can read. I mean,
Yes.
it'll be a good read.
Yeah, it's a pretty intense.
or on Amazon you'll find lots and lots of physical geography textbooks.
There's no dearth for resources these
It
days.
is so hard to. Political, it's easy to see the map and understand,
Right. Yeah.
But physical, you don't have
Yeah,
any
yeah.
clue. Right?
Go to the library. They have really kids' books for volcanoes. You know, like 20 pages, larger font, lot of pictures, pointers showing, okay, this is the cone, this is the lava. Once they know that, then they will be able to pick up the next book. They might be able to find the books in the library on their own. And PBS has a lot of
They
shows
have,
too.
there are a lot of, educational
Science
shows,
channels
there's a
and
lot of things online, So I think the kids have a lot of resources that even this panel did not have, when they were younger. So the last part I did want to cover is, from each of your perspectives, why is geography important, in this world? Especially as young adults, who are coming into a situation where our generation, our previous generation have literally destroyed a lot of the environment that you guys have to fix. So please talk a little bit to the audience about why it is important beyond the competitions, beyond like your jobs, even if you're talking about a career path in geography, even if we put all that aside, as human beings, why is geography important?
Yeah, Neeraj and Sunil might be able to say.
I can start, I guess.
Yeah.
So I think many of the problems the world faces are interconnected with the concept of geography, whether that's war or famine or the big one, climate change. I think all of those big overarching issues that are facing the world, you have to have some knowledge of geography to be able to fix those. If there's a war, you have to understand what's causing that. Is it what is the source of the conflict? You need some knowledge of geography to understand that. The same thing with climate change. You have to know, well, what regions are affected? Will that cause a food shortage? Who's going to be affected? How will that affect supply chains and the economy of different places? And I think to really understand that, you need to have some knowledge of geography. And I would even go beyond and say, regardless of what career any of you are doing, it just is very important to know some of these things just to be a better global citizen and to make conscious choices to help improve the world. So I know that was maybe slightly vague, but I think.
Thank you, Sunil.
Yeah, so like Sunil said, we should definitely all strive to be global citizens because ultimately we are all human beings. Even though we speak different languages, we come from different religions. Geography, I believe, is like the key to understanding and accepting other cultures and other religions. And it's really the discipline that brings people together. If you can understand geography and if you can connect with other people on this planet, that really brings you together as one species. And it's not just about like winning competitions and getting a job and things like that. It's more about understanding the interconnectedness of all the processes that operate on the Earth. And ultimately, every process on the Earth has a geospatial component to it. Everything has a location. So anything that takes place on this planet happens somewhere. And it's really about understanding the interconnectedness of how one thing influences something else and how one thing relates to something else. That really makes you more informed and it makes you a better global citizen.
Thank you. Abhiram, do you have any?
Yeah, sure. So geography is important because if we need to get to know about the neighborhood sometimes. So and we live on this earth, and it's better if one knows about where they are, so they can, like some of these, like Sunil and Neeraj said, so we can become a better global citizen. This can help us in the future by, this can stop most of the problems we face, which have very much to do with geography. And so that's why geography is a vital part of our society and our world.
Can I add one more thing?
Yes, please.
As voters also,
yes,
we need to be knowledgeable about the policies that government makes.
Right.
A lot of people do not know because they don't have knowledge about geography and
Right.
history.
Right.
We just go by and blindly follow
right.
a politician or
Right.
whatever. So.
Right.
Yeah, as you said, knowledge about geography will help you catch some of the not very truthful things they say about the world.
Right.
And demonizing certain areas and all.
Right.
You will realize that you know more than they do and vote accordingly.
Right. So geography, for me, I was not that into geography till my kids started participating. And now I'm really passionate about the topic. I grew with them, just like Ram was saying. And it is so important for us to know not just about the community that we are and the population that is in each of our towns and how the kids interact. So start young, right? Let them watch the news. There is, it doesn't matter whether there is, like Hawaii is being devoured by the wildfires. You need to know, the kids need to know what's going on over there. How do those wildfires somewhere in the Pacific Ocean sitting over there, how is that going to affect the rest of the world, right? It is going to affect, it might be an isolated, set of islands somewhere else, but it is getting affected. Talk to your kids about it. If you have a chance to travel with them, and when you travel and you're looking at sites, you make it a journey. When you're flying, what are you flying over? When you're driving, what are you driving, through? Stop by these places that are less known so that the kids will have those sort of connections to the world, because our job as parents and citizens is to make sure that our kids are well informed about what is going on around us, and that they should become future problem solvers. And geography is the
Thank you so much.
Checking if they're record button.
Yes. Because I could show you.
Yes.
Which combination? Which one? Excess? Yeah, those are the Okay, parents, whose kids are going to a competition right after this? Which one is it? Spelling. Spelling, right? Spelling? Only spelling? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Wait, hello. Oh. It's still happening, I think, inside. Lecture? No, not lecture. But this is going on. No, it's not starting. It will start in another 10 minutes. Okay, thank you.
Oh, you said it hasn't started yet?
No, it's not started.
It's supposed to start at 8:45, right?
No, exam is started. No, not the lecture. The second event is not started yet.
But is the exam done?
No. This is going on.
Okay, so
another 10 minutes, the next session is going to start.
another 10 minutes this check. What is the next
Not the speaking contest, right?
It's a building too, right? Yeah.
I don't want to hear this.
This is a reusable thing, okay? So you can do this one. Just keep this one.
How do you know?
Go against the last door, go straight, and see number.
Thanks so much for joining. The previous presentation went over, so we're going to speak quickly and try and get everything back on track and try and figure out how to help you think about getting admitted to highly selective universities. We want to thank North-South Foundation for having Accept You here. I'll introduce Accept You and myself and my colleague in a few minutes. So I'm Stephen Friedfeld. I'm one of the co-founders of Accept You. We have been around for 13 years, and we're an official partner of North-South Foundation. My own background, I went to Cornell University for my undergraduate degree. I then went to Columbia University for a master's in their graduate school of education, and then I have a PhD from Rice University. Like I said, I'm one of the co-founders of Accept You. Prior to founding it, I worked in admissions for 4 years in undergraduate admissions at Cornell University, and then for 6 years in graduate admissions at Princeton University. I started doing admissions consulting on my own, and after 4 years of that, co-founded the company. And then my colleague, Anna, can introduce herself as well.
Hi everyone, my name is Anna Stone, and I've been with Accept You for about 3 years. I went to college at UCLA, studied geography, and then I completed my master's in education at Stanford. I then started a career in higher education at Stanford. I worked for a few years at the business school, and then spent about 6 years managing new student orientation, first-year student advising, and then my last chapter was a stint in admissions. So that's what led me to my work with Accept You.
Thanks. So our company will dive into this before talking about how do you get admitted to highly selective universities. So as I mentioned, we were founded in 2010. We're a virtual company. We've actually always been a virtual company. And of course, the world went virtual 3 years ago, but that's business as usual for us. So we're based in Boston, but our counselors live all over the U.S. To date, we've worked with students from 40 or 40 plus different U.S. states. We've worked with students from 35 different countries. And we work with students as young as 8th or 9th grade. So I see a few students who maybe are a little younger than that, but we work with students starting in 8th or 9th grade. Most of our students, admittedly, are 9th and 10th and 11th graders to start with us. So for younger students, 8th, 9th, or 10th graders, we do what we call the planning phase. We're helping students think about what kinds of courses to take, what kinds of extracurriculars you should get involved in, what kinds of standardized exams you should be concerned with, helping you think about your summer planning and so forth. With 11th and 12th graders, we then shift the conversation and we start thinking about your university list. We want you to be visiting universities. We want to help students who are 11th and 12th graders start thinking about taking their standardized exams. We want to help older students with their applications, their essays, their interviews, their application completion. So our team of experts, Anna is one of our counselors. Our counselors are comprised entirely of former university admissions officers. As Anna said, she worked in Stanford admissions. I no longer work in counseling at Accept You. I'm more on the management side, but I worked at Cornell undergrad admissions and Princeton grad admissions. So all of our counselors have worked in admissions, and I'll show a slide in a minute. And we have collectively worked in 500 plus years of admissions at 40 plus different universities. And we have consistent results. Our students have been admitted to, 90% of our students are admitted to one of their top 3 choices of institution. We found out last year, we did not plan this, but 98% of our students, we realized, were admitted to a top 50 university. So we had really incredible success. And our admit rates are on average 3 to 4 times that of the most highly selective institutions. So on this slide, you can see just a quick collage of some of our counselors at Accept You, and you'll see that our counselors have worked at small liberal arts and sciences colleges, large public research universities, private highly selective universities, and then what we call Ivy or Ivy Plus institutions, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. And then you cannot see this slide very well, but I think this was last year's class, or the last 2 classes. More than 300 high schools. Because we're virtual, we can work with students from all over the country and all over the world. And they've been admitted to lots of different types of universities. So I don't want people to think that you only can work with our company if you're only looking at, an Ivy-type university. We work with students applying to all sorts of institutions. We didn't even have room on this slide. We work with students applying to international universities, institutes of art, institutes of technology, public and private universities, small liberal arts and sciences colleges. And yeah, so I guess this was last year. Last year, our students were from 30 states and more than 20 countries, as it said. But over our 13 years, we're reaching 50 states and more than 35 countries. So on this particular discussion today, why are you here? You're here to say, how do I get into a highly selective university? What is a highly selective university? And then Anna will give you some details about what university. And then we'll talk about some of our case studies, some students that we've worked with in the last few years. So highly selective admissions. This is just the Ivy League. I hear this probably every day of my life. People will say, well, I want to go to an Ivy League university. And I say, well, that's a bit limiting because there are only 8 Ivy League universities. So the Ivy League is just an athletic league. It's an athletic conference. And so they are, of course, very prestigious universities. They are historic universities. They're geographically very close to one another, which makes it easier for becoming part of an athletic conference. So I always sort of like to correct people and say, do you mean you're looking at an Ivy League university, or are you looking at what we call Ivy Peers or Ivy Plus type universities? And on the next slide, I'll explain what that means. So sure, you know, and Princeton is in New Jersey, and Penn is in Philadelphia. Those are the southernmost in New York State. New York State is the only state with 2 Ivy League universities, Cornell, my alma mater, and Columbia, my graduate alma mater. Hanover, New Hampshire is a rural school, or Dartmouth College is a rural school in Hanover, New Hampshire. And then, of course, Cambridge, Mass. Is where you'll find Harvard. MIT is not an Ivy League, but Harvard and MIT are in Cambridge, Mass. Brown University and Yale. I always find it really odd and interesting, to be honest. You'll see these national headlines about once or twice a year where a student got into all 8 Ivy League universities. You've probably seen those newspaper stories. I don't actually think that's good, because a student should probably not be applying to all 8 Ivy League universities because, well, for one, they don't really necessarily have a lot in common. Someone who's looking at Columbia University, which has 26,000 students and it's in the heart of New York City, probably shouldn't also be looking at Dartmouth College, which has about 6,000 students and is in rural New Hampshire. Meaning, I don't think a student who's applying to those 2 universities has really done his or her research to know that they're very vastly different universities. You want to find a list of universities that's a good fit or good match for you. And if you like the small rural college, you probably don't like the large urban university. So just keep in mind that, you know, while it is a nice trophy to put on your shelf to say I got into all of these Ivy League universities, it just means that you probably haven't explored the universities that closely to know which ones are a good fit for you. The other reality is we always want our students to have a balanced list of universities, and you'll see, I think it's on, yeah, this slide. This is the scary slide. So you want to have a balanced list of universities because these admit rates are very, very small and low these days. So the pandemic, unfortunately, accelerated the growth of applications to these institutions. So Cornell, this is actually 1 year old. This says class of 2025, but class of 2026, Cornell is now 71,000 applicants. 71,000. Pre-pandemic, it was 50,000. I think there's asterisks next to the University of Pennsylvania because that's an approximation. They don't publish numbers for some of these universities. Dartmouth was always about 15 to 20,000 students. During the pandemic, they now have 28,000. So we can dive into the details of what happened, but the reality is these universities are not accepting many more or any more students today than they did 5 or 15 or 20 years ago. It's just that they have a much larger denominator, many more applicants. So when I was in high school, I graduated high school, I always have to think, in 1991. So when I was a senior in high school in 1990, 1991, Harvard was the lowest admit rate in the entire country. I still remember this statistic, and it was a 19% admit rate. By far the lowest, the hardest to get into. Now Harvard is probably about, 3% admit rate. Harvard has always accepted only 2,000 students, but they used to have 2,000 out of 10,000 applicants. Now they admit 2,000 students out of 60,000. So it's not great to apply to too many of these because you want to have balance in your application list. You want to have some easier to get into universities on your list, as well as what we call matches and reaches and far reaches. I didn't lose anyone with that slide, so that's a good sign. Now these are what we call the Ivy Peers or Ivy Plus. And so these are broken down into 3 groups of colleges. The liberal arts, and this is not a comprehensive list, by the way, these are just examples or samples. So the leftmost column are the liberal arts and sciences colleges. You might say, oh, are those really the equivalent of Ivy League universities? And we say yes, as far as their prestige, as far as their rigor, as far as their quality of education. It's just that the liberal arts and sciences colleges, the primary difference is they don't have graduate studies or graduate programs. And I always say, that's okay, you're not looking to go to graduate school right now, you're looking to go to 4 years of undergraduate. So Davidson in North Carolina, Amherst and Wellesley and Williams are in Massachusetts, Pomona's here in California, Haverford and Swarthmore are outside of Philadelphia. This is just a small sample. I could probably name 25 other very prestigious, smaller liberal arts and sciences colleges. So when you're looking at schools, you might want to add some of these to your list. Why not visit 1 or 2? If you like it, great. Maybe you'll visit many more of them. Maybe those will make your list. If you don't like it and it's too small for you, then that's okay. You don't have to visit many others. I grew up in Connecticut, and I looked at Wesleyan University, which is a top school, which is in Connecticut. I didn't like it. It was too small for me. But I do encourage you to visit these types of institutions, even just once, just to give it a try. The middle tier, or the middle column, those are the more popular names of what we call Ivy Peers or Ivy Pluses, and here we've listed Duke and Rice and Emory, Stanford, MIT, WashU. We're missing many others like University of Chicago and Caltech, and there's probably a few others that I'm not even thinking of, but Carnegie Mellon's a good example. So these are private universities that are what we say equivalent to the Ivy League. It's just that when they play sports, they play different teams. And then the rightmost column are the public Ivies. Berkeley and UCLA are always considered that. Actually, a lot of the University of California schools probably hit that, Ivy, public Ivy moniker. University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, UNC Chapel Hill, UVA, which is University of Virginia. A lot of people don't realize William & Mary, the College of William & Mary in Virginia, is also a public institution. So the point is, all of these are ones that you should be considering and thinking about, not just those first 8 universities that are comprising the Ivy League. So I'm going to pass the microphone to Anna, who can talk about, I think you were going to take this section, how to stand out in the applicant pool.
Thank you. All right, so one of the main reasons, of course, that people come to us for our counseling support is because of this question. How do I stand out in the applicant pool? How do I navigate this process? How can I present a strong application to these selective schools and all colleges that a student may be applying to? So I'm just going to walk through a couple of the items on this slide here to help you understand the different dimensions of an application and how you can do your best to get your application to stand out in the applicant pool. So by far, the first step for almost every college in the admissions review process is looking at a student's academic record. Are they prepared to do the work at our institution? And there are a couple of different aspects of that academic review. So grades and GPA, of course. How rigorous was the student's curriculum? Did they take all of the challenging courses or most of the challenging courses they could at their high school? How many APs did they take of the AP courses or IB courses that may have been available? How did they do in those classes? Did they take courses outside of their high school at a community college or through another program? And then test scores, of course, are a part of the academic review process as well. So how did a student do on the SAT exam or the ACT exam? A lot of schools have gone test optional, but having a strong test score can still help your application stand out because it's another piece of academic context for a college to view your application and, again, gauge your academic readiness for their program. Demonstrated interest in academics, also known as intellectual vitality, the life of the mind. What is this student bringing to our campus or our college in terms of their academic interests, their engagement with a field of study or several fields of study? Have they Again, kind of this relates a little bit to the rigor of their transcript and what they've done in high school and outside of the classroom, but maybe they've participated in research, or they've kind of self-studied various topics on their own, or demonstrated their interest in an academic area in some other sophisticated way. Essays are a really big part of the application as well. This is the student voice. Some of the other things I said above, the grades, the rigor of the curriculum, the test score, that's the data, and then there's the voice. So how does the student come through in their essays? What qualities and personal characteristics are they bringing to our campus? Things like leadership or resilience, innovation, creative thinking, that can come through in essays, but also fun aspects of a student's personality. Are they funny, quirky? What kinds of stories do they have to share with us to help pull together the narrative of who they are? So a lot of the work we do with our students is coaching them on brainstorming topics for essays, and then of course editing those essays to make sure they're coming through in a memorable and compelling way. Unique, interesting, likable, it kind of goes along with what I was saying a moment ago, but these kinds of personality characteristics are important because colleges want to admit people who are nice, who are going to be collaborative, who are going to be engaged in the classroom and respectful and cooperative with faculty and their dorm mates and TAs and of course their classmates. So various kind of personal qualities like that are helpful in standing out as well. Extracurricular activities and leadership, another big category. We've already gotten some questions today at our table about this. So a lot of the work we do with our students at Accept You is helping students develop their extracurricular profile, helping them connect with activities, clubs, programs at school and outside of school as well, to help build up a profile that's distinct from their peers, because if you're aiming for these selective schools, you really have to make sure that you're showing your initiative, impact, leadership involvement, many other characteristics like that through your clubs and organizations that you're involved with. So these are things like sports, service, research, music, arts, all sorts of things. And within this field of extracurricular activities, I think I already mentioned this, but how far a student may have gone in terms of their impact with an activity can help stand out. And similarly, colleges can also glean a lot about a candidate based on maybe how they've performed in competitions, awards they've received, those kinds of accolades in all different academic realms or athletics activities can help your extracurricular profile stand out as well. And then finally, strong letters of recommendation. Again, this is kind of the voice aspect of reading an application. What do other people have to say about you? What impression did you leave with your teachers, your high school counselor? In some cases, colleges accept letters from maybe a coach or a clergy member, a religious figure, advisor, a supervisor in an internship, or a job you may have held. So those additional voices can help colleges understand a little bit more about the student's skills and strengths, what they would be like as a member of the college community. The process of reading applications is often referred to as holistic reading or holistic review. You'll see that term in a lot of places, and that just means colleges are looking at all these things that I've just mentioned to build a picture of each candidate and assess different aspects of their performance, their activities, their personal qualities. Where are they from geographically? What are their academic interests? So they're looking at students and applications from many different angles, hence the term holistic review. So now we're going to walk through a couple of case studies of, I believe, students we've worked with before, and go through their profiles. Yeah, I think we'll maybe tag team on this a little bit.
Yeah, we'll tag team this.
And so we'll try to get through as many as we can, but we're going to talk about a couple of actual students we worked with, what they did in high school, and then where they ultimately ended up. So do you want to run through the first one?
Yeah, I'll start. I mean, obviously you can see the credentials, and this is just to give you a sense of the kinds of things that some students participate in. It doesn't mean that it's the right thing for you or your student, but at least you say, okay, this worked for this particular student. So a 3.9 unweighted GPA. So you might not know what we mean by unweighted and weighted, but the long story short is unweighted means 4.0 is the maximum, and this person had basically all A's or maybe an A minus. A 1560 on the SAT is as close to perfect as we need. So the SAT is out of 1,600. There's a math section and then an EBRW section, which is the evidence-based reading and writing. Actually, we used to call it critical reading. That's why we put CR there for shorthand. So, for these highly selective universities, we actually advise our students, Anna, I typically say hit 1,500. I mean, if you can get in the 1,500s. Thoughts on, I think you had a student who had a 1520 who got into Stanford a year ago or something that you were working with. You don't have to have a perfect SAT, but, and we've seen students with the high 1400s get into some of these schools, and some students can get over 1400, but I feel that students should hit a 1500 to feel more confident that these are the right universities. I don't know if you want to add something to that.
Yeah, I think just pragmatically what we often do with families if they ask, should I submit my SAT score or ACT score, should I not, is we advise them to look at the middle 50% range for whatever the colleges are on their list. So you'll see colleges are usually pretty transparent about, okay, the middle 50% of students who are admitted into our class received an SAT score between 1480 and 1550 or something, and then we'll kind of advise on whether it makes sense to share your SAT score if it falls within that range or not.
Yeah, we should say that most universities, all universities went test optional with the pandemic, except for I think the Florida public universities, interestingly. And then, in Georgia, public universities. But then MIT went back to requiring standardized exams last year. We don't know if the SAT will be optional and ACT will be optional in if you have someone who's a 9th or 10th grader at your home right now. Will the SAT and ACT be optional in 2 or 3 years? Maybe yes, maybe no. So we always advise students to study for and then take the SAT or the ACT, whichever is your better exam, and then at least you have that in your back pocket, and then you might submit it or might not submit it based on what Anna was saying. We have these conversations daily with our students. Do you submit the SAT or ACT? The answer is often, yes, I submit it to these universities on my list, and no, I will not submit it to these other universities on my list. Because the universities that are test optional, they always claim that it will not be held against you if you do not submit your score, but it could really help you out to try and get in if you have a great score, and thus you do submit it. Well, just moving on, this student was very advanced in math and took the highest level of calculus. At most high schools is AP, Advanced Placement, BC Calculus. He took that in 10th grade. His high school, or it might have been at a community college, he took multivariable calculus in 11th grade. Was fluent in Mandarin, the president of the Thespian or Drama Society, which I think is a really cool match for someone to have an interest in in math as well as drama. The Chinese National Honor Society as a high school, very strong in his music, National Honor Society, member of the speech and debate team. As you can, I'm just reading obviously what you see here. Academic challenges, I think Anna mentioned this earlier on the extracurricular slide. Admittedly, I like to see academic competitions. This is obviously the right group to talk to because there's a lot of competitions today and tomorrow. I like to see competitions, especially, this is my take, I'll be curious, for Harvard, Princeton, Yale, Stanford, Caltech, and MIT. I feel like it's really hard to get into those universities unless you participate in competitions and then do really, really well. Have you seen that with some of your top students that you've worked with?
Yeah, we had a whole segment on like specific math competition training for our Stanford application review process and what can be flagged for.
And for the other top schools like a Chicago, this student applied early decision to Chicago. It was his top choice. He was admitted. If you get admitted somewhere early decision, you are bound to enroll there. So he did. But he indicated on his application, I'm interested in math and physics and Chinese. Who knows exactly what the student will end up majoring in? Some places allow you most places allow you a double major, or even some places a triple major. But on one's application, that's where you indicate what you think your major or plural majors might be. So, if you were in the admissions office and the applicant checked these are his 3 check boxes, math, physics, and Chinese, it makes sense. Would you comment on
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I'd sit up in my chair a little bit because it's a slightly more refreshing and unique academic area, or several academic areas of interest. So, and my understanding was his essay, I think, touched on his interest in these things and how he connected the dots between what appear like pretty varying interests on paper. So that he helped connect his interests through a really compelling story to help
Yeah.
with his admission.
And I should also say, as a company, we recommend that students get involved in we always say about 4 to 7 extracurricular activities over your 4 years of high school. For some people, that sounds like a daunting number. For some people, that seems easy and manageable. But 4 to 7, it's a target, it's a suggestion, it's a range. And that's over your 4 years of high school. And so I always say each activity should probably be a 2 or 3 or 4 year activity. If possible, meaning if you start in he did music starting in probably 9th grade, do music for 9, 10, 11, 12 if you like music. If you don't like music, drop it, that's fine. You don't need to tell the universities about every single extracurricular you've joined and then dropped. You just want to tell them about the ones that you've joined and then stuck with for 2 or 3 or 4 years. Because it paints a picture. You've never met this person, but you probably have a good sense of who he is, what his interests are, his hobbies, what he likes, where he spent his time. And the university is extrapolating and thinking, okay, if he enrolls at our institution, at U Chicago, where will he get involved on our campus? What kinds of things will he participate in? I've seen students with 0 extracurricular or 1 extracurricular, and I don't know them. I don't get a sense of who they are. And I've seen students with 22 extracurricular activities because they think that more is better. And they say, well, if I join everything, then the university will think I'm well-rounded and that I'm involved and I'm engaged. But then the university has no clue who you are if you've joined 22 extracurriculars. So he hit the nail on the head. It's in the 4 to 7 range. But for the highly selective universities, I usually say closer to 7 than to 4. Yeah.
Do you want to go to the next case
Sure,
study?
yeah. Oh, before you do, I should say, if you haven't scanned the code, most of you maybe have, we do have a contest. If you submit your name, you might win an admissions consulting or counseling program with us. I think we have 1 or 2 contests a year where we have people. It's a North-South Foundation offer only. That's who this is, a contest for North-South Foundation members. And we have a table up the stairs outside so we can chat with you further. Because I don't think we'll have time in this particular talk, but we'll do Q&A probably at our table. Yeah.
I think it's on the next page. Yeah.
So this student, maybe you can introduce a little bit.
Sure. So, so this student attended a private high school in the South, had a perfect GPA, took the most rigorous classes they could take at their school, really strong AP scores, another really strong SAT score. And then you start to see kind of the extracurriculars develop here. So president of the school's psychology club, and founder of a distinct chapter of a Psychology National Honor Association at their school. Probably many other clubs they're involved with in leadership positions, but too many to list here. And then this stands out here. So the student conducted independent research on social media and students' attitudes toward East Asians during the pandemic, and then presented that paper at a very reputable national conference. So we're seeing more and more that research can really matter on an extracurricular profile. I think there's some statistic out of Penn, like 30%
yeah.
of admitted students had conducted research of some sort, in this research, a lot of people think science, just science research, but research can happen in any field, in the humanities and music and psychology, of course.
And he did his research through college. Maybe you can explain
Oh,
College
yeah.
Impact, our
So,
partner company.
But yeah, a lot of the time when we share this information with families, they're like, well, how do I get my high school student involved with a research project? If they're not in college, how do they access faculty or research programs? We have a partner company called College Impact. They offer several programs, but I think one of our marquee programs through College Impact is the research program, where we match students with mentors who are faculty members or PhD students, many of whom are connected with some of these top universities we've talked about, and they mentor a student for a 10-week virtual research program. It runs all year, so you can do this over the summer or during the academic year, and usually there's some deliverable at the end, a paper or a presentation at a conference or symposium, some sort of project. So So that's, we could talk a lot more about that, but I just wanted to highlight this particular aspect of the profile here because that was, I think, very impressive part of what they did. And then you can see like the essay kind of connected with a little bit of what we've just talked about. So they wrote about their interest in psychology through the personal lens of having been bullied. So I'm sure this application came together in a really strong and compelling way. You can see they were admitted early decision to Vanderbilt for psychology. So the narrative of what they did as a student with all the rigorous courses and strong testing and grades, plus their activities, made for clearly a strong case at Vanderbilt.
And it also shows the 1510. Like I said, I don't want to use 1500 as the magic number, but it doesn't have to be a 1600. Vanderbilt's middle 50th percentile probably is around a 1480 to 1560. So he hit that middle, and he was on the lower end of that, but they would look at this, and you mentioned the word holistic earlier. Holistically, you say, okay, yeah, I'd like someone to get a 1550 and higher, but that's okay because everything else on your application is interesting and compelling and different and shows a narrative and a story and a passion. So. Yeah.
One thing I wanted to add quickly, I'm not sure if all of you are familiar with the abbreviation up here, Early Decision ED. That's an application plan. Early action is an option, restrictive early action, regular decision, RD is the normal cycle, but we often work with our students to select an early decision school if it's something that's appropriate for their goals and interests. If it's a big financial decision because it means if you're admitted to that college, you are obligated to attend. So there's some nuances there. I won't kind of get into all the details, but I just want to point out, I think every case study here, no, maybe not. There's a mix. Okay. If you were wondering what that meant, early decision can often help your application maybe have a stronger chance of admission. Not a golden ticket by any means, but for some of these selective universities, early decision is a really great strategic pathway to earning a spot in the class.
And I'll just quickly say the reason early decision typically has a higher admit rate for very highly qualified students is because the university wants to lock in its freshman class. If the university is looking for 2,000 freshmen and they find 500 amazing students who commit to attend that university, now they only have to find 1,500 more students because they've locked in a cohort of early decision. So it could be, we talk strategy with our students all the time. This is a strategy that we think about employing.
Should I keep going to the next one?
Yeah, maybe one or two more. I think we're doing well on time.
Trying to be mindful of the time, so. Do you want to introduce this one?
Sure. This student attended a public high school in the Midwest. Again, the grades are nearly perfect. The ACT, I'm glad that we have an ACT student here. So the ACT runs from 1 to 36. There is a concordance chart. I have to look at it, but a 33 is probably the equivalent of about a 1480 or something like that. On the SAT, I think that's about right. The ACT has 4 sections: science, math, reading, and English. And students can take the ACT or SAT any number of times, but all of these universities just use the highest of each of your scores in your sections. This student actually, I don't think we've listed what the student wanted to study, but it's very clear to me. I'm pretty sure the student was pre-med because HOSA is the Health Occupations Student Association. I might have gotten the name wrong, but it's basically a pre-med, pre-health society that a lot of high school chapters have. So if you're thinking of pre-med, pre-dental, pre-vet, other health professions like public health, you might want to get involved in HOSA at your high school. If they don't have one, you might want to found one. Volunteer at a geriatric center, talk about really having some fantastic, you don't have to have community service, by the way. A lot of people think that that's required. You don't have to have community service, but of course universities like to see community service, and it's so appropriate for someone to do community service, and it kills 2 birds with 1 stone at a geriatric center. So it's again, for pre-med, pre-health professions. The student did not have to do athletics, but was on varsity or JV and then varsity tennis. Another research student, so participated in neuroscience research did EMT training, which I love. You know, a lot of people will say, well, what can I do? I can't, you know, do too much at a hospital. I'm not old enough. EMT training, if your state allows for 16 and over, some states are 18 and over, I think is fantastic. It's really just this depth and this narrative and this story that the student was showing. Or CPR training is usually for younger students. A STEM tutor, so a science, technology, engineering, and math tutor. So like I said, we don't know if the student applied as, we don't have it here, biology or bioengineering or or chemistry, but clearly it was a narrative that made a lot of sense. Did not get into the University of Pennsylvania, early decision. Probably, my guess was deferred and then got a denial. I don't know the details. And didn't get into Princeton and Stanford, but that's okay. She did okay. Dartmouth and Rice, Emory, Washington University in St. Louis, NYU, Boston University, Temple, and VCU, which is Virginia Commonwealth University. So, you know, that's what I was mentioning earlier, a balanced list of universities. They're not all Ivy and Ivy peers. Most of them are, but it's a really nice mix of universities and had amazing results, fantastic results. So maybe we'll just do one more in the interest of time.
All right. Yeah, we had 5. I think getting through 4 is great.
Yeah.
All right. So in this case, we have a student from a public high school on the East Coast, another strong GPA, perfect score on the SAT. At the time, subject tests were available. Subject tests are no longer available, but they nailed it with biology and Latin, and then had pretty much all 5s on some of the hardest AP exams. But you'll see there were only, 4 exams. Some students feel like, oh, I have to take 10 or more APs. That's a myth. They attended a summer program at the Brown Pre-College Institute, I'm assuming, several awards in Latin. As a reader, this would already interest me because Latin is a very niche and rare major to come across.
And I'll interrupt. She wanted to study classics as her major.
Okay.
Classics pre-med was her combination.
Got it.
Really
got
interesting.
It. Okay. Yeah. That's very rare. So yeah, she looks like she did some environmental and energy science research that wasn't maybe completely related to Latin or classics, but she did very well with a competition related to the research. So,
but it is related to pre-med or to science.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah. So you can see that really diverse profile here in terms of interests and activities, but also a very strong academic background. Great results. Harvard Brown looks like she was admitted to the Case Western Reserve University BSMD program, which is a dual degree program. I think we'll try to get to questions in a moment, unless you.
I think.
Or did you have a question about the profile or?
I'll ask the question. Maybe you can answer it. What's your view on summer school?
On summer programs. Maybe we can come back to that in just a moment. I think I'm sure a lot of the other applicants that we went through had specific and unique summer experiences, like research, summer programs like this, maybe internships.
Yeah, I remember, was admitted to Harvard Early Action, but it's not a binding decision. So, I mean, in all honesty, we kind of said, you don't really need to apply to any other school. So that's why she said, well, I'll just apply to 2 more that really interest me, and they were Brown for regular decision and Case Western Reserve for the bachelor's, the BSMD program, and she got into both, but she ended up enrolling at Harvard. Yeah.
Okay.
I think we'll just advance 2 slides towards the end.
Okay, so maybe we'll move on from that, and
this is great. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's some information. Again, you can scan that QR code. You can come talk to us, but we have our contact information, social information. If you want to email us questions or set up a consultation, look at our website, look at counselor profiles and more about the services that we have. We also just started a new podcast called Admit One, which you can find on various channels too, about going through case studies like what we just discussed.
We have a table up the stairs, so feel free to chat with us. We're here all day today and tomorrow, and because we finished on exactly the dot, he said we could have. I'm not going to. Well, maybe 5 minutes because we want to try and get the schedule back on track. Yeah. You had a question about summer programs. I think that's a great one. Yeah, so you're referring to pre-college summer programs that universities offer.
Lots of, there are varying ones. I found a lot of them are like 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
You have all of these IVs offering.
Yeah.
What do you really get out of it in 2 weeks?
So I think that what I call the 1 or 2 week programs an immersion program, and I think those are great for younger students, meaning those who have finished 9th or 10th grade. I don't know if even younger than that is allowed, maybe. I like these immersion programs just to give the student a sample of what it's like to be on a campus, just to get an experience on a certain area of study. For example, there's a lot of students who might think they want to be a veterinarian, and a lot of the vet colleges, the universities that have a vet school will just do a 1 week vet program. I think it's great for the students. On day 1, they probably learn about, large animal veterinary medicine, and on day 2, it might be small animal, and day 3 is infectious diseases or something. So I like those 1 or 2 week programs for sort of an immersion into, do I want X or Y or Z as an area of study? It's very exploratory. For students who are going into 10th or 11th or even 12th grade, usually going into 11th or 12th, I think it's a good idea to think about these classes that are offered by the universities where the student gets a letter grade and gets a transcript from the university and takes an actual course. There's probably about 50 or 60 universities that offer these courses for high school students. So all of your peers will also be high schoolers. They won't be university students. So I think that's good to know. Maybe you can get a letter of recommendation from the instructor. But it's buyer beware, because I've seen students take these classes and not get very good grades or marks. And that to me is, it's almost a waste of money in summer, because you probably then don't want to submit those grades and that transcript to the universities that you apply to, if it's optional to withhold that information. So I always say, if you can get a B+ or higher, then I do think it's not a bad idea to take a university level course. It sure looks good to the university. When I worked at Cornell admissions, and a student had gone to Cornell summer school or a similar type of summer program and got a solid A, we thought, well, this student has proven she can do the work here, certainly. What are your thoughts?
Well, I was just about to say, when I worked at Stanford, like everyone who applied had done the Stanford Summer Academy or the Stanford Summer Session or this. And again, it's great, shows interest, but when you have such a saturated applicant pool and almost everybody has done one of the programs affiliated with the university, it's not actually helping you stand out that much. Is it adding to your intellectual development and exposure, like Stephen said? I just had a student who went to the Georgetown Summer Medical Academy, and she really didn't like it. So she learned a lot. It was valuable information to learn after her sophomore year, so she can kind of change her approach to her applications. You mentioned buyer beware. I think there's also an element of money. These are very expensive programs, so I'm sensitive to that for families. And there are many other things that we work with our students on as counselors in those one-on-one conversations to help give them other ideas for how to spend their time over the summer. So, complicated question.
On the flip side, though, when you mentioned that you're saturated with those applicants, on the flip side, does it hurt the applicants who did not have
No.
those?
It can't hurt, because the university admissions officers know that it costs a lot of money, so they're not expecting it. Yeah, it's a fairness issue. A community college is equally valuable, meaning if you wanted to take a summer college class, I have no issues with a student taking a community college class, which costs much more, because then you don't have the housing cost, the food cost, because you're living at home, and the cost for the course itself is a lot lower. So that's a good alternative.
Right. Yeah, I recommend like De Anza College, UC Berkeley, like
This
courses.
college?
Ohlone, yeah. I mean, those are
beautiful
more
college.
accessible. Sometimes students can't travel, so there are a lot of alternatives. There are some summer programs that if we see that on an application, it really is an elite summer experience, like the Boston University RISE internship program at Yale Young Global Scholars. There's some that are very competitive. UC Cosmos is another example. So if students are admitted into those programs and complete them, that can help your extracurricular profile.
So when you say extracurriculars, right? Like if kids are participating in like math Olympiads or science Olympiads and reaching a good level, do they come under like academic achievements, or they are considered as extracurriculars as well, or is it like music and or some robotics competitions or something like that?
What category?
I mean, I would say both. So on the application, on the common application I'm referring to, there's spots for 10 activities, and I usually see students put biology Olympiad or science Olympiad. There's also a section for honors and awards where you can list your specific achievements or placings in regional, national, or international level competitions. I don't know, maybe Stephen.
Yeah,
you have
I
a
would
different
call
take on
those
that.
extracurricular activities, but they're academically oriented extracurriculars.
So because when you say 4 to 7 activities, and if kids are
Yeah,
participating,
those
but
are
not
activities.
meeting and these,
Yeah.
they require a lot of time
Yes.
and
Yes.
going into
The
it,
so I always say the word extracurricular means above the curriculum. So when you're not doing your schoolwork, what are you doing? If it's academic or theater or music or newspaper or community service, I mean, we can name 100 things. You could be teaching yourself how to a new language, a foreign language. That's an extracurricular.
Yeah.
That's actually interesting.
I like to call it commitments, actually. You could be training by yourself for a triathlon,
Yeah.
and that can go on the list. Or you could be on varsity
love that
tennis.
one.
And
I'd
so-
be very interested if I saw a high school student who said, oh, I've been training for the last year and a half for the triathlon. That's so interesting. I
Yeah.
don't see it very often. So just think about that. We'll take a few more questions. Yeah.
Do you think students who go to private schools have an advantage than those in public schools, even the highly ranked school districts?
Sure. I'll ask, or I'll restate the question if you didn't hear. Do students who attend a private high school have an advantage over students who attend a public high school, including even highly ranked public high schools? It's a yes and no.
I think it depends on who you ask. I think we just had a conversation about this recently in our team, but and the takeaway there was that you shouldn't see it as one has an advantage or disadvantage. But colleges and admissions officers understand that every student is coming from a different background, a different region, a different state or city or country where access to private school education may not be in the cards, may not be financially affordable for a family. What they're looking at is what did the student do at their high school? Did they max out on the rigorous courses available? And if they did they stop there? Or did they keep going? Did they take classes at a community college like we were just talking about? Or did they challenge themselves in other ways? I think, yeah, it's a good question. There's some people who do feel that maybe, yeah, there are certain ties with elite private high schools to private colleges, but
I always say the main, I mean, this sounds like I'm trying to sell our company's services, but the main advantage of going to a private school is the college counseling. That is a huge advantage. A public high school, I always say if you go to a public high school, you'll get a great education, especially if it's at a top public high school. But, and no offense if anyone here is a school counselor, but the school counseling is maybe not quite this, it won't be the same as at a private, but they'll admit that too, as a private school. Just because the volume of students, the ratio rather of students to counselors is very high at a public school. So I think that is a primary difference. I mean, as a company, 80% of our clients, not surprisingly, attend public high schools. And I always say that makes sense. They get a great education, but maybe they don't have the best counseling, no fault of their school district or their school or theirs. So they usually come to an outside consulting firm. We do work with students who attend, 20% of our students who attend a private school. And there's various reasons why someone who goes to a private school but has great counseling at said school, why would they work with us? There's a lot of reasons. They might want a second opinion. They might feel like the parents don't really get to know the school counselor as much as the student, so the parents hire us because they want a connection. Other reasons might be maybe they have disagreements with their school, sort of philosophies on universities. You mean for a school that offers both, which one should you take? Or, well, that's a question. Oh, if you're choosing which school should your child attend, yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
I get that question.
That's a good question. I mean, I would probably want to look at the specifications of both, like is one school only offering a couple of APs and then the other program is like a very comprehensive IB program. Maybe the IB program might make more sense. I mean, in general, I would say, correct, if you want to disagree, I think IB and AP courses are fairly equal in terms of how they're regarded in the application review process. It's about how you do, of course. A lot of schools in the United States don't offer IB programs, so sometimes you can find a way to differentiate yourself by enrolling in an IB program if it's available. But again, you want to receive high marks. You want to make sure you're taking the high-level courses, not just standard-level courses. And then for AP exams, I mean, there are some AP courses that are inherently more rigorous and can sometimes just carry a little bit more weight and gravity in the review process, AP Calculus, AP Physics, AP US History. So I think I would want to look at the nuances between what's offered, but in general, I would say APs and IBs are fairly like equitable in terms of how they're perceived on an application.
Colleges don't bias on either.
Yeah.
We'll take one last question. The gentleman in blue.
I mean, we are at an age in middle school, later middle school, and so we are hearing things about a quota system, as in, oh, you're in high school 1, you will get only X percentage of high school 1 go to this school, so you need to be in high school 2, so that if you are in the X plus, being in high school 2 and being in the elite gets you in because this university is not going to take 20 people from here, 20 people from there. So how does that play out? If I have a competitive school district, and the high school is going to be, everybody's going to get A's, and then you have another not so competitive high school, maybe an A, and there are 20 other B's following you, does that really stand out and does it make a difference?
I mean, I'd probably go to the worst high school and be the best student than the better high school and be average.
Yeah.
So that's the question.
I would. That's me personally.
We flock to good school districts if possible and given
Yeah, but then there's more competition.
Be a big fish in a small or average pond. But I would squash the notion that there's quotas.
Yeah.
Those aren't.
Universities don't have quotas per high school.
Yeah, you will see that, yes, occasionally there's just one person admitted to Harvard from this school or 2 to MIT from this school. But colleges they just can't admit 15 people from every high school. They have to, there's a lot of math and modeling that goes into how they're making admissions offers. And so it might appear like only one student gets into Harvard from this high school every year, but that's not a hard and fast rule that they actually have documented somewhere in the admissions offices at these institutions. So the quota piece is not
It's
at
a
all.
myth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we are out of time, but we are. Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah.
you.
And we'll be back there for Q&A if you want. Thank you.